or any other member. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. First agenda item is approval of the minutes. I hope everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes. If so, any discussion? Could I have a motion? Motion from Scott, second from Joe. All in favor? Second agenda item is announcements, correspondence, and distributions. Does anybody have any announcements, correspondence, or distributions?
Mr. Chairman?
Scott?
Two items. Actually, the first one is, and for whoever is the memorial liaison person, I apologize if I'm stepping on your toes. Tonight, actually, the Memorial School is doing a fundraiser through Dairy Queen between 5 and 8 tonight. So if you hurry, you can go grab an ice cream and be able to donate 10% of the profits for this evening will be donated to Memorial School. So good times. It's been nice warm weather out. Go grab an ice cream up at Dairy Queen and help contribute to the school. So
Memorial's my school, so.
okay, good. So I was jumping on your toes. So I apologize, Mr. Chairman, but I already had my my Oreo Blizzard dinner this evening, so I did have a chance to do that. Also, just wanted to give a. I do see that our athletic director Peter's in the audience this evening. I know he'll be speaking to us a little bit later, but I did have an opportunity to attend the high school football game last Friday. We were just chatting about this, Mr. Chairman, and certainly congratulations to a great first game, and certainly congratulations to the kicker and really just a great effort for everyone. But that last second clutch field goal to take a win with 6 seconds left right out of the storybooks, and just what a great effort, and certainly I'm sure made that student's night. So congratulations to the team and all of our student athletes for starting off a very, very productive fall sports season.
Anybody else?
Mike, there is a distribution relative to the Capitol meeting. I just wanted to give a brief update.
Okay.
That for the members that did not attend the Capitol meeting on September 9th, we did have a submission on our capital plan in addition to technology. And it was relative to an inspection on the Stacy elevator in August, that there were parts that were going to need to be replaced to make the Stacy elevator in compliance with inspection. And that total cost to the district would be somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000. So we did include that on our capital plan and submitted it on the 9th at the meeting. We would be looking for, it's an early submission. We will not be asking for that funding until the spring, and the work would be done in the summer. And that is required to get our elevator the inspection status that we need. It is fully inspected and has its certificate, but it does need to be upgraded.
Kathy, I'm wondering, only because I was just saying to Scott, we were at the FinCom meeting that night, and one of the members asked a question, how old was the elevator? And we thought about 20.
The elevator had a full renovation, I believe, back in 1995, and it is inspected monthly. So over the period, I can tell you in the last 5 years, we've replaced a cable, we've replaced something to do with the car. We have made additional upgrades. So it's really contingent upon that monthly visit by Associated Elevator.
The reason for the question is, and he brought up a valid point as well, is it something environmental, or maybe John, you know, if you're in the building, something environmental caused the early failure of the elevator?
Oh, I don't think it's an early failure. They're just they're not manufacturing the parts anymore. So unfortunately for us, these parts need to be replaced, and we have nowhere to go to get them. So we have to upgrade our elevator to be able to make those repairs.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. So Kathy, I see that the submission, is there a reimbursement? Because the submission says $400,000, and you had mentioned 80. So I just want to make sure.
If you look, that school technology line for $300,000.
I apologize. Yep. So it's a school elevator replacement for $100,000. We're anticipating 80, and then any overage, any additional leftover would be returned.
Absolutely.
Great.
It's really just a small cushion, just in case once they get in there, they find something else that needs to be upgraded.
Okay. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, I have one other distribution.
Yes.
This is actually could probably be old business if you prefer, but it's just the town meeting, the warrant, the article for the transfer of funds from the line 155 to the school technology. This has been vetted now by town council. Showing you here, it also shows that it's co-sponsored by Zach Taylor. It was requested by the committee. The town business finance director as co-sponsoring the article as was requested. So this language now has been ready for us to submit. I know we've already voted at the last meeting. Just want to brief the committee on that. Let you know I'll be doing that tomorrow.
That's great.
Just a question, Mr. Superintendent, who is gonna read this at town meeting? You're gonna have the Board of Selectmen read it? One of the
It
board-
is, it's a school committee article, so
Okay.
a member of the school committee will have to
Okay,
read that article. Let this committee decide who's the best person to speak for that,
okay,
and we can go from there. But that will be a school committee article.
okay, good.
Well,
Okay.
just one question for clarification. It
Yeah.
says sponsor, Zach Taylor.
It needs
that
to
say-
be
should that read
Milford School Committee and
co-sponsor?
co-sponsor. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
correct that.
So I wonder if maybe Zach would wanna do it.
And certainly Zach may want to, we can certainly reach out to him as well.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I'd be glad to present it if need be.
okay.
Okay.
No, just, excuse me, just a couple of questions, just as I was kind of thinking through this, if we want to do it now or if we want to do it under old business, just so some points of clarification around that. If we want to do it under old business, I'm
Yeah,
happy to
we'll
wait.
just do it under old
It's fine.
business.
On this article?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just table that then.
Yeah.
All right, nothing else for distributions then?
Okay, invitation to speak. Is anybody here, invitation to speak? Not seeing anybody. Next agenda item is Milford High School Liaison to the School Committee.
Yeah. Evening, guys.
Good evening, gentlemen. Why don't you, for the general public, introduce yourselves?
So I am Michael De Silva,
I'm Leo Maranta.
and today I was asked if I could speak about what's happening in the school right now and what's happened in the school in the past and what's going to be happening for events in the future. Right now, there is a Spanish exchange program going on. Leo is actually a part of it. They held a welcoming reception. It was ran by the hospitality and tourism program that is in the high school, and the Italian exchange program is actually taking place this weekend. They're coming here, and Leo's here to talk about the Spanish exchange program.
Yeah, I mean, I think, every year obviously we do it, but I think it's an incredible experience, and I think that it's nice for those Spaniards to come here and stay here for a couple weeks, and I think, like, the friendships that we make obviously are things you're going to remember for the rest of your lives, but also now we're looking forward to 5 months from now going to Spain and living that life for 2 weeks the same way that they came here and lived our lives for a couple weeks.
Yeah, and the high school is actually providing a tailgate, like a barbecue, and that is hosted by Carla Tuttle. So I know the Spaniards have gone to Sturbridge Village,
Yep.
a Boston trip.
Yeah, they've done a lot of things.
Yeah. So it's a good opportunity for everyone to kind of see their culture and then have them come here and kind of adjust to our culture. So it's good to see. And then right now, back to school night is happening right now. It's a chance for parents to follow their child's schedule and see how classes are run. Especially, it's a good opportunity to give the parents an idea of a typical day and how it would look like for them. And then another point is I'm a part of the tech team, and I have one tech class once a day, and I get the chance to work side by side with the tech teacher, Mr. Nelson. I also got the chance to work for him in the summer, and we replaced Brookside and Memorial School Labs. It's a great opportunity to be hands-on with the computers and help out the school district if any technical issues occur throughout the academic year. So I get to go to any school throughout the day. If a teacher has a problem with the computer, I can take it, come back here, fix it, and return it the next day. So it's good to see that we keep the schools running with good technology. So, and then today me and Leo attended the MIA Captain's Conference, and it was a great experience attending the Captain's Conference for the Hockomock League. It consisted of all fall sports captains. I attended the conference last year, and it was a great experience to meet other captains around the league this year, and it just showed how to be a better captain. Obviously, I learned stuff last year, but this year it was different. It's just new stuff to learn about being a captain. There's just like so much you can learn. So it consisted of team building exercises, a motivational speaker, and obviously lunch was provided to us. It was also great to see that all MHS fall sports captains represent Milford. Like all day we were volunteering for answers, and we'd be the first to get up.
Yeah, and like the things you saw, that like things where they would ask people for volunteers, like the Milford captains would be a third of the people who volunteered. So you saw that we're not only leaders in our school, but now we're being leaders in our league, and same thing, that we're representing more than just our school, but our league as well.
And then going back, college planning night was on September 10th, and it was actually very successful. The guidance department set the whole thing up and did a very nice job. The school received many emails after the event, and feedback was incredible. Some comments included that the presentation was very informative for parents in the college process. And I also have an email that a parent wrote. It says, "Last night I attended the senior parents' night. As a parent attending for the first time, I had no idea what to expect. I sat among friends and strangers. I just had to write this morning to tell you how blown away I was by the presentation by all of you. It was informative, concise, friendly, professional, and extremely impressive. Every person in the audience I came into contact with expressed the same feelings. Our kids here and our families in Milford really have lucked out with such a great team." So the guidance department put a lot of work into this. Obviously the parents were happy about the whole event. So I just want to show that the guidance department is putting in a lot of work for the senior class. All their efforts into putting in these presentations is there. And then today there was a college fair held at the high school where students got the opportunity to explore their options on where they would like to go after high school. It's great for the senior class, and now's the time to start exploring, getting ideas for where they want to go. And then just athletic team updates. In the summer, I've just been looking around and seeing all the teams putting in a tremendous amount of effort into this fall season. I mean, I was at the turf probably 5 days a week, seeing football there, and then myself holding captain's practices. And I saw field hockey out there, volleyball, and it was like 100-degree weather, so it was insane for everyone to be out there. But and then last week at the Marlboro game, the football game, the fan section was probably almost the size of Marlboro's high school fan section, and it was an away game for us. So it was great to see everyone out there. It was a great win. So I would like to see that in the future, us to get out to away games. And I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and actually, someone else from the captain's conference today from Franklin said, "Hey, man, I heard you're bringing like half your school to the away games." And I'm like, yeah, our fan section really likes to support us. That's just the fan section that we have.
I know a lot of people are trying to go to the Franklin game tomorrow.
Yep.
So I know I have an away game, but as soon as I get home, I'm trying to get there. So, but yeah, so far it's great. It's been a great start to the year. All the seniors are really excited. The attitude in the school is just outstanding. So it's been a great start to the year.
Thank you. Open it up to discussion or questions?
I'm amazed that you guys said you went to this captain conference and everyone pretty much volunteered.
Yeah.
They were all Milford. That's
It
impressive.
was about 1/3. Like, you had probably 30 kids lined up. Probably 15 of them were from Milford.
That's huge. I mean, that will trickle down to the lower levels
and
too.
that alone,
Look
I
at these
think,
seniors volunteering to do everything. I think that's amazing. Good job to you guys.
Yeah, and I think like that alone says more about the leadership in Milford
Absolutely.
than just the fact that it's like a leadership conference and everyone there is supposed to be a leader. But Milford specifically, that we stepped up and we're the ones to go make an example.
Huge. Very impressive.
Just thank you guys for coming in, and great update, great way to sort of kick off the year. I'm glad to hear that things are going so well. I had the opportunity to drive by the high school pretty frequently also during the summer and saw it very similar to you. These student athletes, for anyone who doesn't have a student athlete or has never interacted with one, there is no off season anymore. It used to be you kind of show up and you start the week before season starts and you do your double sessions or your 2-a-days, whatever you want to call them, right in the summertime, right before school starts, and then you go into your season. there's no off season for you guys anymore. You guys are working out all summer. You're coming together as a team. And that says a lot about the leadership and the captains and what you guys have put together with your teams and your counterparts. So congratulations to all of you guys, and looking forward to a great season.
Thank
And
you.
so you got to give your little So you talked about the football game last Friday, right? And you had brought your season. So you're on television. You get the whole school committee. I want to give you a little plug for what time the game is and where you guys are tomorrow.
7 o'clock at Franklin High School. And I think it'll be a great game. It's a great matchup. And I expect the same support from our fan section that was there at Marlboro.
And it was loud.
Joe?
It's great to hear your passion and your excitement. It's clear that there's a strong school spirit here at Milford High School. And listening to you talk about all the different programs and services that we offer here at the high school, it just goes to show that there's a lot of opportunity here for the kids, and it's up to the individual student to really make the most of that opportunity in their time here at the high school. So great job. I know it's not easy to come here and talk to a committee like this, but you guys did a really nice job tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to, again, congratulate you and say how impressed I am with your leadership, your enthusiasm, and really your passion for everything that goes on here at Milford High School. So thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Congratulations, great job. I always say, having a son that was a 3-sport athlete, you think Coach Todd's teaching the game of football. He's teaching the game of life. He's teaching you to get knocked down, get up. He's teaching you sportsmanship. He's teaching you respect. And those are the things that are very unique in this community, and all those volunteers make us very, very proud to sit here as school committee members and hear that kind of information. Makes us very proud of all of you, So keep up the good work. Take what you learn on the field and bring it back into the building and share it with everybody else in the building so they follow in your footsteps. Things can only keep getting better, as they are getting better all the time. But great job of your coaches, Mr. Boucher. Thank you.
Well done, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next agenda item is student recognition.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I invite Alex Hastings to come up to the table. Really pleased tonight to have Alex here. I know his parents are here. And Sandy's also an employee of the Milford Public Schools, works right on the other side of that door, in fact. Alex is here tonight. You've had your court of honor yet for Eagle, or is that the next step for you?
No, everything is submitted, and I'm just waiting for an email back from the council to tell me when the scheduled date for it is. But it's all submitted, and they're reviewing it now.
Excellent. So I get to have the privilege of, if Jose Figueroa were here, I'd say this especially for him, is Alex was a memorial school student when I knew him back from 5 years old. And to see him now become a young man, and now to go through the ranks to Eagle is no small accomplishment, and certainly the committee. Now I want to let you tell the committee what you did, the project you brought forward to me, and then how you executed that for the benefit of this school and this school community. If you'd be so kind to just share the work you did, Alex.
Yeah. So I had sort of like two parts of my project. One of the parts was replacing all of the American flags in all of the classrooms. They were about 75, I believe, but it was a couple-day process. And the other part of my project was I put up a flagpole in the courtyard. And I decided to do this project because going through the school these 4 years, I noticed that a lot of the flags were disrespected, old, yellowing, and they just looked sad. And being like a Boy Scout and involved with the school system, I felt obligated to put forth some effort into fixing that, and I replaced all of the flags so they are all brand new, and they're the right size so they're not in the way, but they're still very noticeable, as well as the flagpole. I positioned it just right so it's not like in everyone's way, but it's very noticeable for everyone.
Alex put the flagpole in the courtyard, Milford High School courtyard.
Yes.
And we had a conversation about who would put the flag up and down every night. So I said, well, why don't you just light the flagpole, then it can remain up. And Alex told me, yeah, I did that, but yet there was never any work that I heard. He never came back requesting electrical work. So how did you do it? Well, tell them what you did and how you used your resourcefulness to make that flag lit.
On the far end of the courtyard, I believe it's like on that edge, the far side, there are a couple lights that light up the courtyard at night. And using a surveying rod, I was able to like judge what height the light reached up to. So my flagpole is 20 feet tall, and the light from the side of the building actually is able to shine up and light up the flag, so it doesn't need to be taken down and raised every morning and night.
Milford High School's own MacGyver.
Exactly. I'm just so impressed by
Mom and Dad, I'll tell you who MacGyver are later.
I think he represents all the students here and have been coming through. This is just such a great honor. But Eagle Scouts to make your way through the scouting ranks like that, but to do that for Milford High School, and we're just so proud of you. And I'm sure the committee has comments and things and questions. But thank you, Alex, for
Thank you.
coming tonight.
Congratulations, Alex, and thank you for your contributions and for taking that initiative, going through all the classrooms and replacing all the flags. And that's obviously not just an important project from an Eagle Scout perspective and from a Boy Scout perspective, but from a patriotic perspective. That's a very classy thing to choose. So congratulate you on that, and thank you.
Thank you.
It's certainly no small feat to go through that exercise of becoming an Eagle Scout. You've dedicated, at this point I would guess, the majority of your life in one way or another to being involved in scouting in one way or another. So it's a lot of dedication, shows a lot of follow through and persistence on your part. So those are qualities that will continue to serve you throughout your life, and I certainly encourage you to share that as much as you can, just as we talked about with the student athletes that were up here earlier, taking what you've learned and share it with your peers. I encourage you to do the same thing and sharing those values that you've learned through scouting and from your family and from your parents, who I do see here who are absolutely beaming in the back. We could turn off the lights, they could light up the flagpole for us this evening there. So they're very, very proud of you, and duly and appropriately so. So congratulations, Alex.
Thank you.
Any other member?
Yeah, I just echo what Scott said. I mean, congratulations, good job, and thank you. I mean, most kids probably wouldn't think or care less about what state the flag's in, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And you went above and beyond, and thank you.
Congratulations. I've also heard rumors that some of them may have had 48 stars from when the school was built. So I thought that
there you go.
Yeah.
No one pays attention.
I'll tell you a true story. One year, Dr. Tremblay and I used to serve on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and every year we give a scholarship away to an area high school student. There was 1 year we had 14 applicants, and 10 of them were Eagle Scouts. So it was so hard to determine, because what happened was when they came in and did their presentation, they talked to us about their projects. I'll never forget, one fella went around and collected handbags and then sold the handbags back into cash, and then sent that cash over to, I think it was Ghana, wasn't it, to educate girls that weren't allowed to go to school. It was a project that he came up with. Another young Eagle Scout had stairs built behind the elementary school in Franklin, where he had gone to school, and his teacher had reached out to him. Somebody had donated a large parcel of land. They wanted to use it for an outdoor science room, but they couldn't get the kids up the hill. He built this whole thing by himself. It was so difficult, we didn't choose one that year, we chose 3. And it just blew me away that the number of them that were Eagle Scouts. So congratulations, you should be very proud of your parents. I know are very proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you did for the Milford Public Schools.
Thank you.
Well done.
All right. They're right there.
It's not much, just a little.
No. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
Going back to his National Honor Society.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Next agenda item is Teacher Chinese Exchange Program Professional Development.
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, if I may invite Holly DuPont and Anderson to the table. They're going to give a brief presentation this evening. Holly and Ann traveled to, they'll tell you the story about their travels to China this year, but this is really a multi-part of our relationship with China, one of which is our student exchange, the short-term experiential, which we had a number of students go along with Kevin and Jen Lancaster last spring. Part of that is we have year-long students who study here. Those are tuition-paying students to study at Milford High School. And then the third part of this is the teacher opportunity, which these teachers were sought after to go to China and actually instruct. So I'll let you talk about your experience over the summer, and I know you have some photos to share. So
Yes, to go
I'll
on.
operate that for
Oh,
you.
that's great. Again, my name is Miss Anderson, and I'm a fourth grade teacher over at Woodland Elementary School.
I'm Holly DuPont. I'm a special educator at Milford as well in fourth grade. At Woodland. Wow, I'm nervous.
After China? No way. So we're very grateful to have had this opportunity extended to us by Dr. Trimbley and the Milford Public Schools. It's a fantastic, fantastic opportunity, and it will forever, we are just afforded this amazing opportunity, and we're glad to share the pictures and our experiences with you. You can bypass this slide. I'll try to go a little quicker because I've made this lengthy so that I can teach my students this year.
I tried telling her.
So it was roughly about a 7,000-mile flight, and it was a direct flight that took us about 13 hours to Beijing. And then we had to take the high-speed train another about 180 miles to get to Shijiazhuan, which is the capital of the Hebei province, where the school is located. So our first experience in Beijing, we noticed the weather. I mean, this overcast, I don't know if it's the smog or what you want to call it, but it was with us for 2 weeks until we went further out into the mountain areas before we got to see the sun and blue sky again. So the issue is that they're burning coal in the cities. And so this is causing this overcast weather that they have. But you could see all those high-rise buildings, and there were cranes operating all over the place, so they're building quite a bit. But they have great road systems, great transportation everywhere. On the lower right is the train station where we met Dr. Zhang, who I was lucky to host at my home back in February. And so she waited for us, and we were supposed to come in at 11. We got held up in Boston, and so we didn't get in until close to 1 o'clock in the morning. So we were grateful to meet up with her, but you can tell them the problem with the trains if you'd like. Yeah, just
She's
a
a
little bit.
lifesaver. She's a lifesaver. Well, the trains were sold out. She somehow finagled to get us on a train because her husband worked in Beijing and walked down some alley. We get on the train, I think for free. I leave my laptop backpack on the train in China. And as we're leaving, I realize my laptop is on the train. She somehow is able to be a miracle worker, her husband, and gets it back for me.
So that was
Yeah,
good.
they were very accommodating. That's the key there. The Chinese people, the Chinese culture is so accommodating.
So these are our host families. I moved several times, maybe 5 times the whole trip, either into hotels or a teacher residence. But I had 2 host families, and Holly had 1. There's my second host family. The 5-year-old learning his piano. And this is outside our Shijiazhuan number 42 middle school. And
At lunchtime, this is what it looks like. They
Yeah.
all get to leave, and they're all marked, essentially. You see them in their purple full suit outfits. They didn't have to necessarily wear them in the summer, and I don't know how they can manage wearing it because it's very, very hot. We have a lot of commodities here with air conditioning that they're just used to going without. So them.
And all around the school, you see the English Nurture Talent. And this is out back by the field. And in the regular school year, there are 7,000 students at this school. So we were very happy to see that there was only a couple of classes open for us, and so it wasn't so bad. These 2 ladies on the end were translators for the classroom with the 12-year-old students that we have, which are the new 7th graders that are coming to the school this September. They were enlisted from all over the province as the top students, so this was like a week in the summer to get them used to the school and the principal there. And it says, if you expect the respect, be the first to show it, and let your efforts rise above your excuses.
It's interesting, that's in English.
I know. Well, the international school, and in China, everyone learns English from kindergarten through grade 12. So this was our first class. We had in one classroom, Holly and I co-taught, and it was 56 students plus 2 parents stayed the entire week for us.
And that's the key takeaway. That's the normal class size or bigger for one teacher. And that's why the teaching methods tend to be pretty different there. They can't do small group. And their classrooms are pretty bare bones and stark, I would have to say.
So we did bring in the sheltered English immersion strategies that we learned from the state in the Milford Public Schools through Jennifer Lancaster. And so this is the turning and talk and sharing some of the activities in the classroom. It was very difficult for the kids because they didn't know each other and they were afraid to talk to each other and introduce themselves, so that was getting them to open up and talk. You can talk about that.
There's some more from in the classroom. That top right, that girl had painted that herself. It was one of the fans, and I brought a fan too. I left it back there, but everyone there has a fan. Everybody.
Right, so those were
you
gifts.
need several fans.
They were gifts from the students.
those were
We were
gifts.
leaving. Our professional development was with about 70 teachers who were brought back on their summer vacation to take the SEI strategies course with us. Very engaged, very interested. The principals also partook in the lessons. They wanted to behave as if they were the students. And so we taught them as if they were the students, giving them the different strategies.
And one thing I noticed a lot, the perspective that's a little different is anytime you'd almost feel bad for them that they're now there in their summer vacation, and you almost feel like they're holding it against you because they weren't planning to be there. It's my duty. It's my duty to learn. This is our duty. They would always, that was the phrase kind of we always heard. So it's, again, the culture.
So it's the principal on the top left there, engaged in the write-around strategy and writing a summary of an article. And then there's the different responsibilities up above there, the summarizer, the connector, the questioner, and so they all had different roles. And you can see they're interested in the PowerPoints we brought with us, taking pictures of it. I've also had contact with another teacher since I've come back, and she asked me for all of my lessons. And so we're talking quite a bit still.
Just a little piece too. Oh, you can see it there anyway. See, there's the chalkboard in the background. There's really nothing in the classrooms. Again, it's kind of a bare bones environment. Our whiteboard in the room that I was teaching the teachers in was a piece of a white sheet taped up to the chalkboard, and they had a projector, like the same kind we have on this little projector hammock type thing. It just reminds us how lucky we are to basically teach here where we do, because photocopying things that's a big task for you to ask for anybody to do that. Everything they're writing it all themselves. So that was another thing we took away. Like the technology, they have Wi-Fi. They do not let the kids know what it is, and these kids are living on this campus. So as far as research and that kind of stuff, they don't have the access to it because they think it'll be a distraction. And so that's really the thought process behind it.
Right. They have a different search engine. They do not have Google. They do not accept YouTube or Facebook. But in talking about technology,
The parents of the guidance staff is in the media center. If you want to stop by and touch base with your son or daughter's guidance counselor tonight. Thank you.
but Dr. McIntyre, you mentioned that they did have lots of technology when you went during the regular school year, right? But so maybe it was.
The state had purchased laptop cards for each classroom. I think for 1 or 2 of the grades. I don't think the whole school had them necessarily.
Okay, because we didn't see too much of that.
And then you all could read that, but that was a little message that
Doctors
they don't
and-
have Facebook, they have WeChat.
WeChat.
And that's their little thing that they communicate, and this was how it translated to English, so it was cute.
And up above, Holly and I, during the middle of the day, we would get together to plan, because we had lessons in the morning for 2 hours and lessons in the afternoon, and they had air conditioning. So this was across the street. This is the teachers' residence.
Dr. McIntyre resided there for...
I did for four nights.
I did 2 days, 2 nights. And for the seniors, the social studies was around cultural diversity. And they were quite great at our history. They knew about our Civil War. They knew about Martin Luther King. They did his "I Have a Dream" speech in unison, and it was powerful. And so they were very much interested in what's going on over here in America. And
they didn't know about Groundhog's Day and the Tooth Fairy, so we educated them on that.
But the type of diversity that they see or the issues that they have is for the different ranks, like someone from the country, the farmers versus those in the city. And so that ranking is where they see some of the...
What's exciting about these kids too, the senior ones, their high school is 3 years there, but these students are doing an accelerated program for 2 years. That's why they're there in the summer. And they have very long days, like 7:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock at night. They get 2 hours in the middle of the day, but they're not allowed to go back to their dorm. So they take naps literally on the desk right there in the classroom, and it's very, very, very hot.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason they do it accelerated is because their third year they want to go to an English-speaking country. So some of the students that we met could possibly be here next year, which is really exciting.
Yeah. So this is what we were told by the teachers when we got there, was that our students can read and write English, but need real conversational experiences, and that's what they were lacking. So they gave the senior students money to take us out to lunch every single day, take us to shopping, take us to museums, and so we had all kinds of conversations like teenagers would like about sports and dating norms and colleges. And when I asked them what are their thoughts on America, and they really thought about it, and they came back and said, freedoms. We have so many freedoms, and rich.
But now though, it makes sense though to you could be in your own life worrying about your own bills and you don't feel like you're rich at all. But when you're like, I don't have to worry about my body temperature being good. I don't need to worry about a lot of things. There's just a lot of cultural shock.
I think the freedom mostly they were talking about too was the fact that students here, they have this opportunity to choose their path.
Mm-hmm.
And they believe their parents choose their path for them. And that's the path they have to take. And so to have all these electives, to have all these opportunities that we have
Mm-hmm.
here, that's the biggest difference for them. And also the freedom to speak up, the freedom to ask questions of your teachers, the freedoms to collaborate in groups and come up with solutions to problems. They find this fascinating, and they want to copy America in this regards. The school system thinks that's very important. They find that that's going to provide rich experiences and innovation of new ideas. And so this is the way they want to go.
I find it interesting, though, out of all the languages of the world, they choose English.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You got the feeling that they looked up.
Yeah.
Well, some of them were very interested in going to Australia and Canada. But you did get the feeling that they kind of look up to the American culture, like it's kind of idolized. For example, they take your pictures left and right. I mean, you could be walking down the street and you'll see someone kind of catch you and then just be like, oh my God, look at that person. You see them both turning and staring at you, and you are such a sight, and you have to be like, nobody cares who I am in America. But they will be sneaking pictures. So it must be, there has to be something to that they just really look up to America. But we had to reinform them that we really look up to China. We think you guys are so good at math, you're such good students, you're very smart. We had to let them know that that's how we perceive them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the teacher that hosted me was saying that everyone wants to copy America, that everybody thinks America is the way to go. Whatever we're doing, that's what they should be doing. So for such a young country, for them to have that opinion of us says a lot. So our culture shock was the bike traffic that went right along with us to work. And if you look there at the back, that gentleman with the blue sneakers, he's got his baby in the arms of probably his wife right behind him. So there's no helmet laws, and they're wearing the masks again for the pollution on the road there. The language, of course, and luckily we had each other to talk to, so it wasn't like we weren't talking English. We were doing it at work and school there.
And they were very accommodating. They always made sure one of their staff members were with us.
Right, and they wanted to learn English, so they were very excited to have that opportunity as well. And, of course, the food, the money, the bedding. We could talk about the bedding. Toilets, we won't go there. Major culture shock.
It really is.
And but biking is the way to go, and there's the calendar, the language,
the
and
bathroom door.
Bathroom door.
Oh. High school girls. Some of the food was very good. Some of the food was very interesting. And as the risk taker, I am not. My vegetarianism started in China.
That's a squirrel fish there, and that was sweet potatoes covered up in the sweet thing, and the dragon fruit is that white up there. It's pink on the outside, and then the very traditional Chinese buns are stuffed with meat, and then they have that leaf wrapped up. It's a red rice with a red bean paste inside. And there's some more Chinese buns.
Looks delicious.
Yeah, it was. Everything was. I couldn't believe it because I'm really fussy, but I ate everything. I couldn't believe it. And there's the paparazzi attacking us in the stores, and they got a big kick out of it. And no matter where we went, they followed us and kept doing it. So I quickly took
Turned
one
around
of them.
and went back on them.
And dining out and host family trips touring the Hebei province. So different, there were so many restaurants, so many places to go. I mean, it was different every time. But they have this traditional way of having the circular table, and everybody shares in the food, so nobody's going to order just what they want and put it in front of them. And
You all
the
double dip.
person that pays for the meal orders everything for everyone, and everybody takes a taste. And so there's Dr. Zhang, and she's taken out the host families, and in the top left is her daughter, who's home from Ohio University. She spent,
She's the assistant principal.
yes, and she was the one that came here and stayed at my home as well. And my host family took me out to the traditional stage production, Peking Opera. It was quite an event. And she also was a writer for a city newspaper, so she had a press pass. And during one afternoon, she took me to this really high-end hotel, and it was filled with seniors, and they were all dressed black suits, very formal, and they were giving him praise. I guess this is a global competition. Harvard and others have this. And they were recreating the USA National Security Council and having problem-solving discussions, and so they were honoring the top seniors who ranked up high in this competition. It was quite impressive. This is outside the City Museum. And then finally, Holly got her wish come true, so you can talk about that with
Yeah,
Walter. Talk about
Yes, I've informed the Milford members who have already gone that they missed out on a place because I put in the name of the city, the province, and this Mount Canyon showed up, so I assumed it's pretty close. It wasn't too far out. It was
90 miles.
2 hours, maybe 2 hour drive, but it was the first time we saw sun and blue skies in 2 weeks, so it was just such a great experience. And it's hard to tell, but that bottom right hand picture to the left of the mountain, that's a hanging temple that's like over a little bridge, and we hiked up from the bottom.
It's like over 3,000 feet high.
Yes, and then it just kept going up, and it was a very neat place. And in the top right, that's a brand new teacher for their district. He hadn't even started yet, or I guess he kind of did, and he was kind of assigned to keep with us for
So a whole week and out to
several days.
Beijing.
Yeah, so that's the temple that was hanging that you just saw.
Mhm.
It was a very neat place. I'm a huge dog lover, so you see a lot of dogs. My home I stayed at had a dog, which made me happy, and then I made a friend dog on the street. I did see a dog on a menu too. It's a Chinese experience.
Oh, yeah. What's below you? Right here, anything?
That's
Nothing.
No, yeah, that's hanging over
Nothing.
a little.
It's over 3,000 feet.
And it was scary because when we were up on that rock, we were like, there's no way we're going to sit on that because we saw other people doing it. But as you got closer, you felt a little safer to do it.
Wild and crazy kind of teachers.
And then they took us to more historic, we know there's a limited amount of time. A historic place, this is a historic location for the revolution.
Honoring the heroes and when Japanese invaded China, so it was during those periods when they became the People's Republic,
And if
China.
you just saw a couple weeks ago, there was a lot of, like on the MSN homepage, there would be videos of parades going on in Tiananmen Square in Beijing a couple weeks ago, and that's exactly where we were for this.
So we get up early, sunrise, to see the flag raised and hear the national anthem, and everybody comes out for it, and it was crowded. And that's a monument to honor the heroes in the last 30 years in China. And again, Holly was quite the celebrity with the blonde hair and the blue eyes. I thought she was going to be mobbed, like she was Taylor Swift's cousin or something. They came from
I had
all
to keep
over.
reminding them that I am nobody in America. But it was cute because you'd hear younger kids come up to you, speaking English, and they'd kind of be like, "Can we take our picture with you?" And it was adorable because they're speaking English, and their parents were encouraging them to do it.
And again, these people were on our tour bus that we stayed with for the whole week there in Beijing, so we got to know each other. And we're at the Forbidden City, which is outside of Tiananmen Square. And you can see that most people use their umbrellas to prevent the sun from changing their skin, so they're protecting it.
And these are more sights from around.
An old temple again, yeah. This is another underground palace area. And there's so many artifacts there. Over to the Summer Palace. I love this place. It's the largest royal park in China by Kunming Lake. Beautiful walkway. That long passageway there was in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest place, and everything's painted, the beams up above.
No.
That's important
That
too,
thing
but
that I'm
this
under?
one here. Mm-hmm.
It was like a walkway that was covered, very ornate. Same place.
Largest pagoda there, yeah.
More.
The Jade Belt Bridge, and it allows the Empress's dragon boat to pass, so that's why it's up so high there.
Very
Also-
steep.
Yeah. And on to the Great Wall of China. And here we are at Badaling, which is one of the most tourist visited spots along the wall. It was crowded, and it was hot. And we did it, didn't we, Holly?
And we were really rushed too along in there. It was
Yeah.
interesting.
On to the Lotus Festival. It's a very symbolic flower. You see it in a lot of the statuaries. They're either Buddha sitting on one or holding one. And it's also a delicacy. We ate the food, and it's underneath there in the muddy area.
The root, yeah.
Yeah. And then we took a flight down to Shanghai before we headed for another straight path back home. Still no place like home.
And we still didn't show you at least 1,000 pictures. And then also, I brought this in because they gave us each one of these. They're really into giving gifts. And we went over there and we were a little concerned about, like, I don't know who I'm going to meet. What am I bringing? Am I bringing a Red Sox shirt? Am I bringing a Patriot shirt? It was odd, the selection of things you brought. But the school gave us each one of these. And it's a very traditional Chinese decoration. And the writing on it stands for good luck, good health, happiness. So I have it in my classroom. So I brought that with us because they gave us each one.
So as you can see, we were entertained quite a bit. It wasn't just the host families, but it was the school, it was the principals. They paid for everything.
Mhm.
We didn't have to pay a dime. We only bought water
Yes.
because they usually had just hot tea or hot soup, and that was the liquid they were using. It was so hot there. We wasn't sure if we could trust the water.
Right.
It needed to be boiled, they said, and so we just wanted to play it safe. So it was either Coca-Cola, which I went back to drinking again, or water. We would have to buy bottled water.
That is a big takeaway, though. They were very, 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 they really would go out of their way to make you feel like you are so welcome to be here. We'll take care of everything for you.
Where do you want to go? Just let us know, and we'll take you there.
They think, you can tell, they really want to encourage, they asked Anne if she would stay and teach there.
I
They
know.
really want American teachers to go there, like, for a whole year and teach. So you could tell that was some of the reasoning, probably, some of the motivation behind why they're treating us so well. But it was an excellent experience. And we thank you for approving it.
Any questions?
Very grateful.
Just, thank you for sharing. Certainly seems like it was a wonderful trip. It was interesting to see and hear you kind of talking about, very similar to what, Dr. Tremblay, when he went the previous year, kind of talking about the trip and talking about how the perception difference, right? So our perception is, wow, they're doing so well in education, and they've got so many advancements, and we hear, news story after news story of how the United States is doing educationally versus the rest of the world, and that China is typically one of the leading countries in that. And yet their perception is no, we have to learn from you.
Right.
So it's great to see that, sort of that reinforcement
Right.
that you guys experience the same thing. So thank you ladies for sharing and for going and representing Milford Public Schools and our community.
Thank
What was
you.
interesting was it May we had little celebration in the cafeteria of the high school for.
That was American Thanksgiving. We did that in
November
I
last year.
think we did it right before Thanksgiving.
But the
Yeah.
three
Just about a week
administrators that
before.
were here,
Hmm.
it was interesting, they were explaining to me the different, how, you're testing to move on to the next grade, almost the brightest, but yet, all three of them, their daughters came to the United States to go to college.
Oh, yes.
And so I was saying, they talk about this great system that they have, but there must be something, there
Well,
must be a disconnect when college
The
comes.
Students, from what we learned, especially from having lunches with the students, and they could be honest with us, they feel really pressured. They really feel pressured, and this is what they have to do, this is what they're supposed to do, and you kind of could sense some resentment that they want more free time to play football. They want more free time to, grow in other ways. And, we tried to tell them, I know, that stinks, but the good part is when you go to America, you're going to be an excellent student. It's going to be a breeze for you. Like, we're trying to encourage them that way. And, maybe life has kind of been tough for you because you've been working so hard all this time. But that's kind of setting you up to be in a good place as an adult, where maybe your adult life is kind of going to feel easier to you too. Like, now you'll be set up to have more of those freedoms that you feel like you haven't had yet. But yeah, they felt pressured, very pressured.
I also understand that we have like over 6,000 colleges, and they only have like 3,000. And the number of students that they have, they just do not have the placement for them.
Right.
And so that's why they're reaching out all over. And also, the host mother that I stayed with said to me, she says, when you talk, you're thinking. And she says, and we don't do that. Now, I didn't understand what she meant at first, but it came across that, we really discuss it and we think about it before we speak, and it comes from a lot of research and understanding. And she says, we just like memorize. And so that push to just memorize and get the top score, they don't come out as innovative thinkers, creative thinkers. And I think that's the difference, the biggest takeaway.
And the lessons, Ann, just to jump in, are very scripted by the teachers during the school year. So to see you doing a lot more engaging activities is kind of unheard of in terms of their instructional strategies.
Right, the principal did compliment us and said that they learned quite a bit, and they wanted to take away all those strategies that we were offering, and they want to change it up. They wanted to make it more custom and get them cooperative learning type activities.
One thing I found interesting is when we were doing the teacher training, there was a teacher who looked extremely young, but she was nearing retirement, she said. And she had just spent the past 2 years kind of like on a sabbatical in a way, but it wasn't an option. She had to do observations of other teachers, kind of thing like timing, making sure you're in the room on the minute kind of thing, that kind of stuff. And you could tell it was something she really didn't want to do. And so I asked her if that causes animosity between her and her colleagues, and she said it most definitely can, because now she's back in the classroom, and someone she may have docked for whatever is now kind of, the tables are turned. So it was interesting listening to that. And another interesting piece was when we explained to them in elementary school, you go from 8:30 to 3, and you teach everything. And even the students were like, really? And we're like, yeah, you teach science, social studies, math, everything. And they couldn't comprehend that. It seems like even in the elementary level, like, you have an English teacher, you have a reading teacher. So that part was interesting to see just their reaction. The kids even, they were like, really, you do that? I was like, yes, we do. So it was interesting.
I have to say, too, that the students that we met that came to Milford were our best allies, and they helped us with our computers and shopping, and they were really close to us, very close friends. So that
And they
was
even
nice.
helped send back a souvenir that one family had forgotten, and he really wanted to make sure we got it back to the family. So I'm not sure. I'm assuming that student got that little panda bear.
I think so, yes. Yep. Yes.
And evidently our district made a big impact on them, because right in front of their school they have a lot of boards that are encased in glass or plastic with students and their scores and pictures, and they have a picture of Dr. Tremblay on there.
You're world famous.
Yeah, world famous.
Oh, there's going to be no living with him.
We also had a students
Well,
asking
billions
us
of
to help them with a mock interview for study abroad, because they all expect to go to universities, whether it's in Thailand or Japan or wherever. And so it was scripted in English. They already had their answers, but he wanted to have that pretend, interview. and so we helped them out in that regard as well.
Jen?
I just wanted to, first of all, you can tell how much you both got out of this experience. I mean, it's just exuding from everything that
Yeah.
you're saying, and I imagine there might be some changes to your teaching practice and the way you look at things based on the experience. But what really did strike me was when you started talking about some of the ELL training, the required course that teachers have to take now. And I've heard teachers really kind of complain about some of the strategies that were being taught in those classes, because in some cases they're strategies that have been reinvented, that have been around for a really long time, that teachers have either put away and not thought about for a while, and now some of that's kind of been reinvented. And to see those people sitting in the classes looking at those strategies like it's something just completely brand new and life-altering almost in a way, and how they asked you to send them all of the curriculum and all of the lessons. It just shows you, when we've had things around here for decades already, and they're looking at it like, oh my God, we can finally use some things that are a little fresher and different.
Right.
Just really highlights the
They
dramatic
also appreciate
differences.
the language and the nuances and the intonation that goes with it. And they asked me to record a passage so that they could read it every day to get that intonation and the reading of English. So that was
Their
impressive
duty.
too.
They really
They're
internalized
working
the
hard
duty.
at English.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to go there and bring back the information.
It's our pleasure.
Yes, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
very much. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
out.
I'm gonna need my little,
I have your flashback.
oh, you do, thank you.
That's amazing.
I used it at recess duty, and I look a little ridiculous. I probably stick out. But I'm like, you don't understand. We use this all the time. This is Mount Canyon. So this was the last one.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next agenda item, Milford High School Two-Day Athletic Leadership Academy. Mr. Boucher, Coach Todd, and everybody. Good evening. Again, for the general public, why don't we introduce ourselves?
Megan Jakes.
Mike De Silva.
Joe Todd, head football coach.
Peter Boucher, athletic director.
Very nice. You're here this evening. Tell us about your academy.
I don't know if that you want them to start or where we.
Whatever
the
you want to
brainchild-
do, Peter, is fine.
Yeah, just to, the brainchild. Really, 35 years in athletics and probably 25. And so when Joe and I met in the winter, we started to talk about leadership, and we felt that leadership is such a critical piece of athletics, which is a big part of his world and a major part of my world. And we just felt like we could do better. We felt like we had good leadership here, but we felt like we weren't doing enough. And that's not, I want to be really clear about it, that's not a slight on Milford. That's a slight on the entire planet. There is not a great sort of indigenous program out there that trains high school kids, middle school kids, anybody to really be great captains. And I'd love for them to talk about that in a few minutes because, we talked about, I think we've kind of figured out, we learned what did we say? We didn't know what we didn't know. That's kind of what you guys came to us about when we brought them 2 days, 10 hours of information. So we kind of basically got together and started talking in the winter through the spring, and we said, well, if we can't find it, let's build it. Let's reach out. So we started to really outline the agenda topics, and from leadership to communication to conflict resolution, teamwork, social media. And then we finished up with MHS Pride, which we felt was, critical to what we're doing here. And we probably, I think we logged 99 hours. I said 100, but it was 98 or 99 hours putting this together. Jay Mastay joined us, and then we find out that from all the background of our coaches, take someone like Jay Mastay. He's retired from EMC. That's what he did for 20 years. He would train certain departments, and if a certain department wasn't doing well, supposedly, they would shut down. Coach Mastay would go in for 3 to 5 days and just do an immersion okay, how do we, who's leading, who's doing what? And so what he brought to the table was incredible. So we really found that each one of us sort of had a passion for a certain topic. We built it. We reached out to the kids. Garth Yon comes in with Scott's Lawn and decides to buy the T-shirts. The boosters and Paul Pellegrini jump in and decide, we'll feed him for 2 days. It was just teamwork. That's really what I think really was important for me. I don't know if I've seen that type of teamwork, and that's a Milford thing, and I really felt great about that. And I might just pitch it to them and say, we spent 2 days together, and maybe we'll kind of give you guys an opportunity to talk about what you learned, what did you get out of it. I'm very comfortable with you, just kind of chatting.
I can pick up real quick before these three go. First of all, thank Pete for the opportunity. It was really Pete's idea. He drove it. I was on board, from day one. It was a great idea. Going into my third year as being the head coach, the first 2 years, I realized it's really not just about the coaching. It's really about managing the players, from the captains down. And what I realized was, the captains really didn't have any formal training on how to be captains. So, here we have this, chain of command, obviously administration, and then coaches, and then captains, and then the rest of the team. But in there was this gap where the captains really didn't know how to lead. They were kind of given, this, power, although it was, small, bit of power, but they were still given power. They really didn't know how to use it. So, we get together when we really thought about what do we want our captains to know? What do we want? What message do we want them to spread? Me personally, the topic of conflict resolution and confrontation, and I can tell you, I learned a lot. I'm sure all the coaches learned a lot. Just for me personally, just there's an opportunity in conflict. There's an opportunity in productive confrontation and really teaching the kids how to manage conflict amongst themselves, so you don't have problems always, flowing uphill. We talked about communication and the power of communication. So overall, I think we learned a lot. I know our captains learned a lot, and the goal is obviously for them to spread the word, down to the lower levels.
And I think, first of all, it was 2 days. It was 10 hours spread between 2 days. And obviously, that may seem like a lot, but, we went to today, the leadership conference for the Hockomock, and I think, I'll genuinely say it wasn't even comparable to the one that we held at Milford.
I didn't tell him to say that.
Yeah.
I like hearing it, but we didn't really.
So, I guess, people would say that it's intense, but at the same time, we learned a lot of things that people weren't saying. And I think it's, especially great that Milford of all towns are the ones pioneering, things like this. That, it's teaching captains that it's not just something that you're told that, oh, you're the best player on the field, so here, you're a captain. You need to know that, you're held to a higher standard, and that, on and off the field, you represent your team and you need to lead them. That, like you were saying, bridging the gap between athletes and coaches, that, we have this power that we can use to make a better team and to make things run more smoothly. And I think a lot of things like conflict resolution, that was things that weren't even touched upon today at the thing for the league, in the Hockomock League.
I think we definitely have a step up above every other team in the Hockomock League after this training. Obviously, it was 2 days before school started. I was finishing all my AP work. I had a lot of other things. But so our attitudes going in, obviously we were excited to go there, but there was still a little thing behind our head. And once we got in there, the coaches started talking, everybody zoned out, and it was all sports. And I think the biggest thing that I took out of it was that not only was the football captains above and beyond, but it was as a group. Now every athletic leader was all on the same page, and we're all ready to go in the same direction as an athletic department.
First hearing about this academy, I don't know if you guys thought the same, but it was at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. So I was like, oh man, I don't know. But at the end of the day, all the captains were together, and we all want the same goal in bringing championships to the school, and the ability to learn all the things that the coaches were teaching us. I can take that to the soccer field and apply that to the team. And so far I have, if there's situations in the locker room or outside the field, I can deal with it, take care of it, so it doesn't get to a certain level. And taking care of it before it gets to a big problem is just a lot better, because if you fix the problem, we can all be one team, and we can all win games and win championships like we all want. So the big picture is that we're all just going for the same goal. And if we all have the right mindset, we can reach that goal.
I think not only like with the athletic part too, but we took out like how to represent the school. I mean, I definitely realized that my role is a lot bigger than I thought it was, that when I'm out shopping at Target, somebody sees a Milford field hockey shirt on me and they automatically associate me with that. So now when they read up on the paper that something happened, they're thinking about me regardless if it was me in the paper. In their image, oh, she said hello to me. She said, how are you? Like the little stuff like that, I think they taught us that like what you post on social media, how you do react in like everyday life, you represent the school, you represent the town. Anywhere you go, you represent the big picture of Milford.
And I think that like social media, obviously that's kind of like a new field nowadays, that things that other captain's conferences hadn't really touched upon, that we felt that, okay, it's this new field that, obviously there's a lot of room for things to go wrong, that's something that you need to know, that you represent Milford, online, whatever you do. So I think that it's good that people realized it now and that they were telling us that you need to be responsible in everything you do. And I think that's what's truly putting us above all other teams, all other leaders and things like that, that we're leading in every aspect of our lives, not just when we're on the field and when we're at practice.
And I feel like our teammates, knowing that we've gone to this academy, they kind of look up to us because, I mean, it was a serious thing. Like, we learned a lot. So if we tell them, like, what we've learned and that, they look up to us and kind of listen to us, and, like, we're almost like a role model. So just the idea of this academy, captains, conference, it's just a big thing to all of sports in Milford. So
There's an old saying, the speed of the leader is the speed of the team.
Right.
And you set a good example, everybody else will follow you.
Sorry about that. You prepared a video.
We did, and they were nice enough to crop it. It was they had a 12-minute segment. They taped all 10 hours. I'll share that the MIA is pretty entrenched in this. They heard about it. We're pretty well connected. They know that we're moving and shaking over here. So, they wanted the entire 10 hours. They're deciphering through it, and I think they want us to help next year at the New England Leadership Council. I think they're going to ask Joe and I to come in and do our 2 modules, and Jay Mastay, they're probably going to ask him to come in and work on his teamwork module. So we'll be at Stonehill next summer. We think that's where it's going. I'll tell you that, just share that this got so big so fast. Team New Balance found out we were doing this through a couple of connections I have in the running world. They brought Joe and I up into New Hampshire. They have a 2-week camp. They asked us to present the first week, which we did because we didn't have preseason yet. They loved it. It ended up being the best presentation, and that's just from the data that I heard from the directors at New Balance. We had nothing to do with that. It just came to us. They invited us to come back up the next week. We could, you had football, I had AD do. We just couldn't do it. I mean, they were willing to come pick us up and drive us. They were willing to do anything to bring us back up there. So, we feel pretty good that this is. I think we caught lightning in a bottle, to be honest with you, with the kids that really want to, make forward progress and just keep pushing and having the right staff and teamwork and folks like you to support us. And, I can say, you look around the table, I've worked with every one of you. Kathy helps me with the finances and uniforms, and I'm always looking for help. Dr. McIntyre dropped in and gave me some feedback, about some of the teaching. You dropped in, to be honest with you, and gave me some feedback on what we were doing. It was just, the teamwork that I'm seeing here is not like anything I've seen in other, 24 years in education and one college, and I don't know if I felt the support and the drive to excel, that I see in Milford, and it just, it feels good.
Our players bought into it, and all the athletes
Yeah.
that really bought in, great participation, great cooperation. So
That's a good point. They were
Team effort,
wonderful.
yeah.
I got to tell you, 60 kids, 8 o'clock in the morning. They were amazing, and and you guys tell me the truth. Day 2, it's 1 o'clock. We're in the gym, and I think there's a clip of it of us trying to break the record and set the record, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure people wanted to go home. Would you stay a little bit longer? I think, we had a blast, so it was good. We really worked hard to put this together.
Can you tell the committee also about what's going on with WEEI and what's
Oh yeah, so this just came in today. WEI is picking 7 schools to come and cover football games. And they chose us as one of the 7. They asked, would we be willing to have them come in? We said, yeah, we could do. I checked in with Carrie, who checked in with Dr. Tremblay real quick. And so what they're doing is their EEI is connected to the Patriots for some charitable. I don't know yet what that is. We might be able to pick, or it might be something of their choosing. So Pat the Patriot will be there. The Patriots cheerleaders will be there that night. They're going to
We'll definitely have to go.
Yeah. We'll get VIP passes, right? So yeah, we're really excited about that. That just, I think it's another thing that just pushes us out. That I'll have to be honest, I didn't ask for this. We didn't solicit it. They checked in with us and said, hey, we heard you guys are doing some great things, and we want to come to you. We said, come on in. It'd be great. We'd love to have you. They'll broadcast a little bit of the game, bits and pieces. That entire week, they're going to be talking about Milford versus OA. So rock on. We're ready to do it. So that'll be fun. It's going to be a good night.
The Milford High School Athletic Department recently completed a first-of-its-kind Leadership Academy designed for the captains of Milford's sports teams. The program was initially conceived by Athletic Director Peter Boucher, who recognized there was a distinct lack of leadership training for athletes at the high school level.
This is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. I've spent my entire life in athletics since age 6. And, honestly, Jonathan and I, with Jonathan Raskell, our trainer, Joe Todd, our head football coach, were talking. When I came on board December 1st, and this was something that we just kind of started talking about. We were watching a basketball game, and we all just said, hey, we were captains in high school, we were captains in college. Who had any training? How would a captain know to do this or do that? And we just kind of said, all we really knew was to make sure you lead warm-ups and keep everybody in line. What does that mean? And then we started looking around. What trainings are there? What's out there to really help the kids? And we looked and we didn't find anything. So, we're all type A personalities, and if it's not there, we're going to build it, we're going to climb it, we're going to get ahead of it. So we just said, hey, let's make this happen. If you think that kids are going to follow you just because you have the word captain before your name, I don't know how well that's going to go. All right? One of the things that I always talk about is you have two incredibly important skills, okay, that kids will follow. It's what you say and what you do, and that's it. What you say and what you do. And I will tell you that if what you do doesn't match with what you say, they will stop following you.
The final presentation of Day 1 belonged to head football coach Joe Todd, who tackled the very difficult issue of conflict resolution.
I was glad that I had that topic. I did a kind of little bit of self-reflection, even back throughout my whole life, and really just thought about the topic, researched the topic, looked into it. I really enjoyed putting it together and talking about the chain of command, where the captains fall, the expectation that conflict should be resolved at the lowest levels, and if it can't be resolved, it's got to go up the chain of command, and I think that'll give us some tremendous leverage, so the coaches aren't dealing with as many problems, the captains aren't dealing with as many problems, and we've got a more structured environment.
Here are the competing goals. They're both fighting for different goals, and they realize this isn't working. Let's figure something out. All right, we'll do this, and then they both say, here we go. Let's see what we got. Recognize there's a conflict. Communicate. FIO. What's FIO mean? Figure it out. Think win-win. Everybody gets to eat. What's the lesson? Don't be a donkey. That's the lesson. All right, don't be a donkey.
The second day of the Captains Academy featured two more very important topics, with girls soccer head coach Jay Mastay leading a session on teamwork and middle school soccer coach Brian Edwards tackling the topic of social media awareness.
It doesn't matter whether it's in high school, college, individually in families. Teamwork is just one of those things that we all talk about, but it's amazing how often we get it wrong or not close or not close enough. I mean, it's very seldom you get that team that really kind of comes together. And as I mentioned in my presentation, I mean, companies spend thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get their teams to work together. It's no different. I think the best thing that happened here is introducing some of those skills earlier on, so that they can build on them, and so by the time they're actually into corporate America or wherever they decide to take their careers, there's a foundation built and they can start at some place that I wish I had, a long time ago when I was a captain.
Once things wrapped up, I asked a group of the captains as well as the athletic staff to give their reaction to the two-day Leadership Academy.
I could probably speak for everybody and say that when we found out we had a 2-day council for 5 hours at the end of summer, it wasn't like the first thing on our list that we wanted to do. But even like the coaches said that you could either be a tourist, a prisoner, or an explorer. And I think by the end, well, coming in, everyone probably started off at like the tourist, a prisoner place, but everyone probably ended up being explorers.
I think we all bonded as a captainship of Milford. So now all of us are all on the same page with where we want to go in Milford as an entire sports group.
After today, it's just like it's a whole different like level that I just couldn't see happening. But now I know a bunch of skills that I can apply to this season that could potentially cause a successful season.
There's a lot of things like conflict resolution, stuff like that, things like in the locker room that we can take care of, things like that we know how to handle ourselves and they don't have to go into bigger issues. We know how to really bring the team together because football, like of all sports, we need everybody's cooperation and everybody going together. And the things we learned here, we can pull the whole team together and know that we're going for the same goal, the same mission, and we know how to get there in the most efficient way possible.
I thought it was really awesome that the coaches put this together. It definitely helps all of us captains because going in, you know your job is to lead the team, be a role model, but they gave you small little things, little ways like body language, how to communicate, different things that you can use to help manage your team, and I think it's really important.
I think we all felt like we all went above and beyond what we expected of each other. And, every single one of these, I learned something. I know that the kids learned something. We all learned something about our own modules. It was great.
I'm ecstatic over the way that we presented. I really feel good about this crew and what we were able to bring to the kids. And their feedback says the same thing. They had a good time. I think they were very honest saying, they came in here Thursday morning thinking, I hope this doesn't stink. And they left here, I hope you get to see the footage Friday afternoon. They're cheering and setting records and just, they want to play tomorrow. They want to start tomorrow. And that's an awesome place to be. So we feel good.
Let's go.
Nice.
Great job.
Pretty good snapshot.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that all drop down like that, so we feel good. Thank you.
Any member, any discussion, or? Go.
I'm really impressed. I can't say enough good things about this type of program. It's really a character builder, and when you talk about the leadership skills that you covered, conflict resolution, teamwork, communication, pride, these are all things that aren't just going to lead to success on the field. It's going to lead to success in the classroom, success in life, and I love everything about it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this evolves over time. And I'd put the challenge on Kevin and Bob, to find a way to introduce this type of program into the curriculum. I think it needs to go beyond just the team captains. I think these are the types of skills that all our students need to develop during their time here at the high school. So, great job.
So thank you guys once again, and thank you for coming in this evening and taking time out of what I know is a very busy start to your day here and to your school year. I guess my question is, so you guys have gone through all this stuff, and when you go through something like this, it's great because it's really intense for those first 2 days, and then it's a question of how do you sustain it, right? So I guess my question is, I'd love to hear from each one of you guys, including Coach Todd and Peter. So I'd love to hear, just for the benefit of the community as well, what's one thing that you're doing differently now, either with your teams or with yourself when you're on the field and when you're in school as a result of this? Anybody that wants to start? And I'd love to hear from Coach Todd as well as from Peter.
I think the main thing I'm doing is keeping the atmosphere positive no matter what happens, win, loss, tie. You just have to keep everything positive, keep everything in perspective. No matter what happens, you just got to keep going, focus on the next day. Yesterday doesn't matter, so you just have to look forward to the next day and keep that attitude positive.
I think I took out of it how much I affect the team, my mindset in practice and games, how much that translates to the team's mindset in practice. And I think that after playing games and stuff, when you start getting excited to be there and your passion comes out, and it's very visible when somebody has passion and when somebody doesn't, and it infuses to the entire team. You'll notice when one person starts yelling, "Hey, nice job, Mike," give him a high five, you realize every other person goes up to Mike and congratulates him. It's just something that it's a domino effect almost. Once one person starts the example, the rest falls into place.
I think probably like one of the most important things that we all took from it is realizing our position and that being a captain is more important than just being a title. Like she was saying, the influence you have on other people, that like even in the classroom or on the weekends, whatever you're doing, you know, people know you as Leo Maranta football captain, Megan Jakes field hockey captain, and you know, the things you do are representing more than just yourself, but the team and your school in general. So I think like realizing the power and influence that you have and that you hold that position on your team for a reason is probably one of the most important things that we took from it.
I'd say for us, you know, I'm going to talk about like our football staff. You know, I'm sure you can imagine there's, you know, some disagreements that may occur within a staff. So the concept of creating win-win situations, collaboration, you know, for us is huge. You know, we've expanded our communication, and you know, we're really just looking for more win-wins, and it's not just with our staff; it's really with even with our players and stuff. So, you know, when disagreements arise, there's always an opportunity to, you know, either collaborate or compromise, and you know, not have things turn into a fight.
I think for me, you know, I've always tried to live the role model. You know, I have to walk the walk and talk the talk, and I've always tried to do that. I think one of the things that it's done, it might have changed and for the better and real quickly here. I think it's galvanized. Like, I think you can hear them talking about that it's galvanized our staff. The amount of staff that jumped on board to do this for volunteer. We spent we had fun, but it was hard work. So I think it galvanized our staff. I think it galvanized our captains, and I can see the difference from last winter and spring compared to the fall. We were good last year. I think we're excellent right now. And if I could, great question, sustainability. So we've talked about, you know, we really feel like we hit a grand slam, not a home run, and that's not trying to be egomaniacal. We felt like all the stars aligned and this came together. Great. What do we do next? Well, we've talked about we'd like to bring in the music leadership. We'd like to bring in the student government leadership next summer. Bring in all the student leaders and run this again. We'll tweak it a little bit. We think we have the nucleus, and then I think what I would like to do starting next month would be I feel like I want to meet with these captains once a month, the minimum, a captain's council. You know, when I was the principal of the school, we used to have a principal's advisory council, which you probably do, right? And you meet once a month and you say what's working, what's not working. But I would always say to my teachers, my staff, please don't just come with a gripe, come with a solution. So we're gonna teach them to, you know, problem solve as well. Okay, you might have an issue going on that you can't solve, or you're having trouble. I might throw it to the kids and say, hey, look, we're having trouble with this or that. What do you guys see? And together, you know, we'll problem solve. But I think we have to make it important enough to carve out that time. And time is so challenging. You know, we could meet some mornings, we talk about that, but my own opinion would be that if it's that powerful and that important, we might need to pull them, you know, for a half hour or so at the end of the day, because they all run to practice and it's games, and you can't ask a bus to wait for a game. So I think that's the next level. And then I think phase 2 of that, which Joe, I think you talked about, was, you know, the entire student body. We're talking about, should we be presenting this to the entire, you know, my realm is athletics right now, and that's my purview and what I'm looking at. Should we be teaching the entire junior class of student athletes what we're teaching these folks, and stepping it up a notch, and really, you know, I'm excited because, you know, this is a whole new era. For us, this is like going to the moon in 1968, or whenever that was. You know, I don't know exactly, it wasn't around, but, you know, anyway, we feel like nobody's doing this, you know?
You're looking at me to give you the answer.
I'm like, does anybody a historian?
It was 1969.
Okay, thank you. I was close, right? I was in the ballpark. So yeah, we feel like there's a lot that we want to do. We are thinking, you know, that's a curse and a gift that I have. It's, okay, we've done this now. What's the next step? Forward progress. It's championship. Well, this is a championship program right now. How do we make it world championship? And I think that's what we need to do, is we need to connect. We've got this powerful group, and we need to meet now. I think we need to follow up. It can't be a 2-day wonderful workshop. What's next? What are we going to do to continue to make forward progress in Milford? I think that's where we want to go.
Yeah, I would encourage you. I think you've begun the foundation here of something that I think could be very, very special, and that sustainability is going to be critical. Not to harp on it, what I saw last week sitting in the stands was I saw a student body that clearly came together.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, I walked into the football game about 30 seconds late, and it's not me walking in that you didn't know. I got there about 30 seconds late, and by the time I got there, Milford was down 14-0. And they came back and won that game. They did not give up. It was that heart. It was not only just the football team, but but to the comments about what the stands were like, and you guys were there. You guys were cheering in, and you guys were engaged. And they were trying to, you know.
They were helping you keep people off the field.
I heard Mr. Pierre Gustavo saying it. We could get a flag if everyone starts rushing on the field, and no one could hear him. So I just started telling everybody, back up. We can lose this game if you guys, keep rushing on the field. You just back up, guys. Give it another minute.
They moved when he asked them to move. That was critical.
I was like,
They went
please,
back
guys,
up
just
to
do
the
it.
teams,
Do it for the football team. Back up. Just wait.
So that teamwork and that camaraderie that you guys have built through starting with this program, and that friendship that you're building, continuing to build on that. I'd love to see the sustainability, and thank you guys all for your insight.
Yeah. Thank you for your support. We appreciate the opportunity and getting behind us and letting us do what we think we're good at.
Peter, real quick before we let you go, though, you mentioned earlier that in your 24 years of education, you've never been in an environment like this.
Yeah.
That's just another example of what a great district this is and what a great community this is.
Agreed.
Because
Agreed.
everybody works together, everybody wraps their arms around everything, and everybody helps one another. That's why you've never seen it anywhere else.
Absolutely.
It's the greatness of this district and community that keep things going.
I would agree. And
people like yourselves.
Coming from I worked at my alma mater for 12 years, so it's not easy for me to say that, but I'll tell you, I went after this job with a fury and a fever, and really tried to make sure that I was the top guy for the athletic director job, because I knew growing up next door that this town, that this community expects excellence, but they will support your striving for excellence, and not everybody will do that. They want it, but they won't always get behind you to make things happen. So this is, for me, it's athletic utopia. I'll take it. Love it.
Peter, I'm very pleased with the job that you've been doing as athletic director.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have known to expect something like this from an athletic department, and frankly, given how well funded our school district is and the community involvement that we have with our athletics, we should expect things like this, and it wasn't until you shone a light on what was possible.
Thank you. I appreciate
that we had an opportunity to really engage in these sorts of things, and I do look forward to the evolution of your programs as we move forward. I think it's something that can separate Milford. It can give all of our students and our student athletes a lot of pride, and I think the greatest measure of your success is the ability of these three student athletes to sit here and articulate with clarity their understandings of leadership and responsibility. And I think that is probably the biggest takeaway from this.
Thank you.
So I'm very pleased. Words can describe how pleased I am with how our athletic department is running right now. If I were to use them, I'd probably embarrass you, so I won't. But this is a job very well done.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And again, I go back to that teamwork and just your support and the committee support and the administration up here, that whenever I go with an idea, I'll be like, I can make this work, and they're like, yeah, absolutely, rock and roll, do it. To folks like Joe and Jay and Coach Asm, Coach Pellegrini, and then these are the ones that really matter, because they're gonna lead us right now, certainly, but we talked about, we're building better people, life skills that Chairman Walsh talked about, that, they're gonna go on and do great things, and well, like I say, you're always wearing red and white. No matter where you go from, it's always, and for me too, because I've converted. I'm a Milford guy now, and I just feel really good about that. So I appreciate you saying that. It matters, because we put a lot of work into this, and they're living it, and they're making it work, and they're making hard choices and pushing people outside of their comfort zones and saying, hey, you can't do that because we have to behave like this, and it's showing. I've seen each one of them in their games doing things, high-fiving and grabbing some, come on, we gotta go. Anybody could have lost that game last week. 14-0 with 3 minutes to go. But these guys battled back because they believed they could win. Their coaches believed it. Their athletes, but their captains believed it too, and the fans believed it too, because they were packed. So, yeah, it's cool. It feels good. So thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm just hats off to you guys for this program. I remember you talking to me about it, saying when's it going to start.
Right.
I was super excited that you got it going. You guys love it. I mean, you guys didn't want to leave. That's huge. Yeah. You've taken our school and our district and our athletics to an unbelievable level, and you guys, awesome, great job.
Thank you. We appreciate the support.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also, it almost seems like you've taken what we had, which is the brand of the Scarlet Hawks, and you've really rebranded it with obviously a lot of support and a lot of people behind you. But when you look at this building now and you see the signage that shows us Milford and where are our athletics and where where are different areas of the building, and everything is just labeled now, and those beautiful signs out front that talk about our core values and that you're a champion and 24/7, and those
Yeah, thank you.
messages that you're sending out. When you think about all the money that, you see the ads coming through as an educator for anti-bullying programs, and you don't need anything anti right now, because you're doing
Well,
everything is
positive,
pro and
right, yeah.
proactive, and it's so positive, and that consistent message that you're sharing, it is going to permeate throughout the student body, and you just where we were a year ago, and it was a very difficult time for athletics in Milford, and look where you have come in a year.
Thank you.
It's just
Thank you. It's good
very
support and
impressive.
teamwork. I'm going to keep saying it's all of us. Everybody in the room and everybody that lives in this town is supporting, expecting and supporting excellence, and that's a good place to be. I'll take it. We'll take it, right?
Why don't you come on up? Dr. Tremblay's been shopping again, he's got little gifts for her.
Big spender.
Congratulations, thank you, on a great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for the good leadership. Thank you, great job. Coach Todd, keep winning. Thank you.
We will. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your time. I know it's
Good job.
nice.
Good night.
Next agenda item is report of the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Human Resources.
Yes, I have for the committee's approval this evening 4 warrants. The first warrant is in the amount of $29,230.23.
Can I have a motion from Scott, second from Jen, all in favor?
The second warrant is in the amount of $200,825.14.
Motion from John, second from Joe, all in favor?
The third warrant is in the amount of $224,082.44.
Motion from Joe, second from Patrick, all in favor?
And the last warrant is in the amount of $13,716.36.
Motion from Joe, second from Scott, all in favor?
The committee also has an updated budget for the fiscal year 16. I would like to say it's complete, but we do have additional teachers to be hired. So until those positions are filled, there is showing that there are funds available in the teaching line, but that will soon be filled with a couple additional hires. And there is a gift this evening.
There is. The donor is Nancy Angelini. The name of the gift in kind, electric guitar and small amplifier, value of $300. I have a motion to accept the gift from Scott, second from Joe, all in favor? Thank you, Mrs. Angelini. We'll make sure we get a nice letter to her.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Next agenda item, subcommittees. Subcommittee updates. First one is policy.
Yes, I'm the newly appointed
Oh.
sharer of information.
Yay.
Yay.
Did you get your stipend?
Yeah, right?
All right.
My punishment. So policy subcommittee met, I don't know, a week or two ago, and we've basically been reviewing Section B of our policies, which basically documents governance and operations of the school committee. So we've gone through and made basically just some, I don't know, cosmetic changes, some really minimal updates, and so we'd like to see that put on a future agenda for the full committee's ability to review the proposals that we've made and vote on some of the changes.
Thank you. Wellness, we haven't had a wellness meeting yet, have we?
Not yet.
No, not yet, no. Middle school East reuse?
New meeting, since our last meeting. We meet the first Wednesday of generally every month. Our next meeting is scheduled for the first Wednesday of October.
Thank you. Woodland School Building Project?
So we met yesterday, was it last night? Bob, was it last night? These days are all,
I think so, yeah.
they're all kind of running together on
I know, it was last night, yes.
So the project is 32%.
In this room, in fact.
In this room, as a matter of fact, yes. The project is 32% done. There are 3 sections of the building. Section A is the gym, Section B is the classroom section, Section C is the cafetorium section with the kitchen. Sections A and B are completely sheathed now. Section C will be sheathed in about 3 more weeks. The building will have permanent lighting and windows within 2 months. So that's going to be enclosed and ready to go by the end of November. We're out of the ground, which means it's very unlikely that we'll have any more unexpected expenses when it comes to, parking lots and boulders and soil removal and that sort of stuff. So that's great. That was a big wild card. It cost us about $400,000 more than we'd expected. And that's one of the places where overruns can't happen, and so that's done. As a committee, we have a responsibility coming up to us very soon here. We need to vote as a committee to create material in that building that won't be reused as surplus. And then once it is surplus, we can throw it away, we can liquidate it, we can sell it, and then turn the funds over to the town. And so we have an inventory. Craig Consigli was kind enough to work with Bob to get us an inventory of the... Kathy. I'm sorry, Kathy. The desks, tables, chairs, all that sort of material that's still good, it's still usable by somebody, just not by us. So we need to get that out of the building before the demolition begins. So we can have it thrown away by those who will demolish the building for us, but there's some residual value there. So if we can get rid of it and get some money for it and get it back to the town, we'd like to do that. So we need to be prepared probably in the first or second meeting in October. Probably the first meeting, but hopefully by the second meeting, to vote to create that material as surplus as of a date that we designate. So that's something that Bob and I will come to you with more information on when that happens. But just so everybody knows, we can't do anything with that material until this committee votes to create it as surplus.
Can I, quick question?
Yeah.
If we do sell that stuff and it's money, does it go to the schools
The
or
town.
into the town?
Yeah. The towns.
Thank you, Patrick. Technology Task Force, John?
Yeah, could we move that down into the old business
Okay.
section? I think it's gonna overlap with some discussion there.
Sure, absolutely. School liaison reports, anybody, other than, we've already reported opening day, has anybody had a chance to go back into their schools?
I could report about Brookside. I've spent a lot of time there. My son is a kindergartner for the first time in that building, so I've been participating in a lot of things there, but not in Woodland.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Oh, I just want to report that I was able to connect with Lucy Jenkins
Yes.
because Shining Star in the kindergarten obviously opened after everybody else, and she reported a really smooth opening, few tears quickly resolved. You might have seen those at Brookside also. You might have had a few yourself. I don't know.
A few.
She reported a new drop-off pickup procedure that she said is working very, very well. One of the things that she did mention, which may come up in some of our budget discussions, is some of the challenges retaining qualified aides to work with some of our more challenging students or challenging student situations. And so it may be something we want to talk about during budget time, making sure that we have the ability to really bring in the most highly qualified people and compensate them at a competitive wage.
Wait, any other member?
Wait, I had Brookside, so thank you for stealing my thunder.
Yeah. I can steal it more. So we showed up the first day, and Lisa Firth was...
I had met with Lisa again. I actually went to the PTO meeting that they had the other night, and I got to tell you, I've never seen so many parents. It had to have been 40 people at this PTO meeting. I talked to Lisa. She didn't really have anything on her plate, but one of the things that came up is that a lot of people, parents that want to volunteer, they need to fill out their queries. They can't do anything. I've heard some stories that, I went to volunteer and I couldn't do anything because I didn't fill out this query thing. Some people didn't know. So anyone out in the public, if you're going to volunteer, you got to fill out those forms for us. That was one of the big things that I got out of there.
Absolutely. Yep. John?
Thank you. Yeah, here at the high school, the superintendent's working with, collaborating with his staff because he wants to sort of launch a full-scale marketing campaign to the 7th and 8th grade students on the programs and opportunities that are available here at Milford High School. We'd like to do everything we can to retain the students in district. So I don't know, Bob, if you want to speak to that at this point?
It goes to prior discussions we had about students leaving grade 8, going to BBT or Norfolk Aggie or whatever they may be. And we've had this discussion before about whether it's choices around legacy, family members who've gone to St. John's, they want to continue in that tradition, or if it's because they simply don't know what Milford High School has to offer. And when you hear what you heard tonight from our student athletes, how could you not want to come to Milford High School? I mean, it speaks to itself. But we spend a lot of time doing the great work we do in our classrooms and on the fields. We don't necessarily communicate that as well as we could. So I have a meeting coming up in the very near future, and I haven't checked my calendar to see when Melissa set it up for, to get Len Morcone on board and the principals at the middle school, Nancy Angelini at the high school, our AD, music director, everything to really showcase and make sure we're out ahead of the BBT, their sort of trip around the 13 regions to market their school, and get our 8th graders up to Milford High School, give them a tour of this facility, see that, have our student leaders up here walk the kids through, throw them a dance, do something that really shows them how great this school environment is. At the same time, appeal to our 7th grade students, because they're already beginning to think that even before 7th grade, and begin to reach down into that school, bring our student athletes down, bring our dramatic program down there, do a short play or music programs, and showcase all the great offerings Milford High School has to better. So it's a marketing campaign, as John described, to really internally promote for our students what the options are here at Milford High School. So that's one of the marketing ploys that I think Patrick and I talked about earlier in the year as well, end of last school year.
Just a quick question with regards to that is, when we think about school choice, and I know that it's been a topic of conversation with this board over the last, really over the last 12 months. I know that the finance committee's been digging into it a little bit further as well, just try and get a better understanding of it. Are you seeing that it's the transition from 8th grade to the high school where you're seeing the biggest attrition from a school choice perspective? And just for the benefit of anybody watching, school choice is not, so BVT would not have an impact on school choice. Going to a private school would not have an impact on school choice. It would be more of, as an alternative to coming to Milford High School, I'm going to apply for my student to go to another public school. I'm going to have them go to Hopedale. I'm going to have them go to Hopkinton. I'm going to have them go to Holliston. Is that the age, and as a result, there's a cost that goes along with that. If they're accepted into that district, and keep me honest here, Bob, we then essentially have to pay a tuition, for lack of a better way of putting it. We pay a dollar amount to those school systems for that. And vice versa. We have students that choose to come into Milford.
Right.
And there's sort of this in and out. Are we seeing that that's where the biggest attrition comes from a school choice? Is it that 8th grade to high school year, or is it at other grades? And I know you've done some research around
Yeah,
this.
for the last few years, I don't have that number for you, but I will do a follow-up report in October. October 1 is our big mark in terms of the enrollment, as Jen knows from her own submission. So the state looks at October 1. It gives basically school enrollment about a month to shake out. So we sort of figure out that, geez, the kid hasn't shown up to school for 16 days. Where is he? You realize he's been in Framingham the whole time and never actually enrolled in Milford. So we sort all that out, and then October 1 number is the number that sticks. That's the number that everything is based upon. Free reduced lunch numbers in terms of money back to the Milford. So after that, I'll feel more comfortable coming back to the school committee with showing you the actual distribution. The 3 towns that you named, though, so I don't know. Well, I don't know if it's at 8th grade to high school, if that's the real breaking point. But the 3 towns you named are among the top 3 chosen communities. So you're nail on the head on that one. For years, the money in and money out, and Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong here, it had been fairly, about 10 years ago, it had been about even money. On the other side of that, if we actually had every child that's choiced out of Milford in the Milford schools, we'd be having a different discussion about overcrowding. We'd have a real problem. We have great class sizes right now. We'd have a real problem managing that. We want to find out. So in the last 2 years, as a matter of practice, we have done surveys to parents who've chosen to come into Milford and out of Milford. We've done cold calling to actually call those families and say, what can we learn from your choice? So I have that information we collect every year, and we'll do that again this year as well. So I'll come back to the committee with a more comprehensive report about the choice numbers, the distribution, and to the extent I can find out some of the whys.
Thank you.
Okay. Sure. Next agenda, future agenda items. Does anybody have any future agendas? Patrick?
Mike, if you could ask either Bob or Kevin, whoever is most appropriate, to do a review of the new positions that we've added this year, and not the people that are filling them, but the roles that they're playing, how they were deployed, and how they've affected the other staff members that were overtaxed before we added those positions. I'd like to get a review of how those new staff members are working across our buildings and how they're helping to streamline some of the intent of the school committee when we did add those.
Absolutely.
We add those positions. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other member?
With regards to that October 1st date, last year at this time, we also is when we first started getting the ELL updates from Jen Lancaster. She put together a very comprehensive report. I'd like to get an update on where we are year over year and the change in the impact there too.
Okay. Anybody else? Joe?
Yeah, somewhat of a future agenda item. Just wanted to throw this out to the committee. So the joint conference, the MASC and superintendent conference, is scheduled for November 5th, and I believe we have November 4th through the 7th, and I believe we have a school committee meeting on November 5th. So I just want to propose perhaps changing that meeting date, and bumping it up to either October 29th or pushing it back to following week in November, I think November 12th. So maybe we just check calendars and vote on it.
Yeah,
at
but
some
if we
point.
do that and then kind of get a general email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And the only other thing for future agenda items is just an update on the technology assessment. I know Wally was going to do a walkthrough, and World Band had volunteered to step in as well, so we can get an update on that.
Yeah, I can give you an update right now on that. We had a technology meeting. How many have we had? I don't know. We have them every day. We're watching this so closely. Monday, we're doing it's Monday, right, Kathy?
Yeah.
Full-scale walkthrough with Wally, with World Band, with us, with Jonathan Capisi, with all our staff, and walking through to identify all the locations. And we're putting together that as part of a capital planning as well, envisioning this similar to our capital plan, a 3-column, year 1, year 2, year 3, and really identifying all the needs in year 1, that being this current year. What we're tackling, what the priorities are, and so that work is happening. We should have an update for the next meeting, actually. If we're doing that on Monday, gives us time to come back on the 8th.
And this will include an inventory of our equipment?
Yes, Lonnie has offered to do that, so it'll include the inventory as well. Now, whether he can pull that off, depending on how much Wally has done with the inventory and where the gaps, I'll find out more on Monday. But
Yeah, I'm interested in knowing what our inventory is before we decide to buy anything.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah. I'm sure we can get that. I just don't know if I'll have that for the next meeting. Maybe the meeting after, but we'll shoot to have that by the October 1st meeting.
Jen?
I think we owe our superintendent a review at some point.
Yes.
That I
John
know
and
I
were
am
talking about
woefully
that on our
behind
way
on my
here tonight.
part personally, so
Yeah.
maybe if we had a new deadline and
I'm going to send you out an email tomorrow.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Not just you, Chad. He's not gonna
No.
say
Okay, thank you.
To everybody, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Any other future agenda items? Into old business.
We had one item from Mr. Harrison, the town meeting article discussion, wanted to bring back.
Yeah, so I just had a quick question, really just with regards to just technology just in general. And, one of the things that I thought about as we kind of talked about doing the transfer and everything else, which is, I guess part of my question is so if it gets if for some reason it gets voted down, what's the impact?
$288,000.
Well, no, so here's the thing. The money's still it's still allocated for technology. So does that mean that we don't have access to that money as it stays in the current account? Or does it mean that we just have to work with the town accountant and it's still allocated for technology and we're still able to do it? And that's
Well,
one of my questions.
My understanding is it's certainly still allocated for technology. It's just another step in the process to allocate it towards a school. My first thought is that if the transfer is successful, that we need to put together an RFP for a consultant on what scale we can discuss. But if it's not transferred into the school department, we have to work with town administrator and board of selectmen because it falls under their purvey. So I guess we would have to propose an RFP to them and have them okay it, is again my understanding.
Okay. How are we spending? So we're accruing some level of cost, I would assume, at this point too, with the services that we're using, right? How are we paying for that now? So if we're not, are we going through that?
That comes out of the 155 budget.
That's what I'm asking. So it's coming out of the 155. So as we're operating right now, it's coming out of the 155 budget. It's being used from this allocation for the that we're now requesting for a transfer. So if for some reason it weren't to pass, that was just my question. So not to paint the black picture here, but okay, so there is a chance it gets voted down. What happens? The what if scenario? The other question I had is, and John, you just started to touch on it here, is so who's going to oversee that? So I know Kathy sort of is our budget watchdog, right? That's a big piece of her role. When it comes to the RFP for whether it's a technology director, one of the questions I would have is of this committee is who do we intend to write that? Because I can speak for myself, and having worked with many of you for several years here, we don't have the technical background to be able to create that.
To create what?
An RFP for either the technology director or anything of that nature. So what would we go through? What are our resources that we're going to use? So again, the Board of Selectmen is enlisted, as Patrick actually had talked about at one of our previous meeting. The Board of Selectmen, through creating that process for the town side of things, and you know I don't like that term, but it's what's become common vernacular, so I'll continue to use it, where they've enlisted community help, right? They've enlisted volunteers, coordinated by the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen. Actually, I'm sorry, not the town administrator, but coordinated by the finance director, to use people with expertise in that background, in that industry, to come in and help create the RFP. Are we intending on using the same thing?
I think that's precisely what we have to do. I mean, I had, after our meeting, when the Board of Selectmen announced that we were no longer going, that they were no longer going to support our IT department, I mean, the only thing that we can do is find people who are experts in the field, get their consultation, and have them help us draft that. I mean, I don't think that there's any other competent way to do it. And as a matter of fact, after we had our meeting of July, I had 4 or 5 members of the community reach out and thank me for my words and volunteer to work for the school. They were IT professionals in different levels of organizations across Massachusetts. They were willing to commit their time to come in and help us square away our IT. So I would hope that the committee would support experts in the field advising us as to how we should be constructing that department. I mean,
I think that's a good point. It would certainly be something that I would personally support. I think it's something that we need to start to get there. I think part of what will help, whether it's with this town meeting and as with this request as well, is one of the questions I can certainly foresee us being asked when this is proposed is, so what are you going to do with the money?
Right, but I think
And who's going to be, and what's your technology plan? And whereas we don't have an RFP, we don't have a technology director, we don't really have a technology oversight other than through a consultant that, as we talked about in our last meeting, we have to go back out for bid.
But I think what we need to do is allow the superintendent to put together the group or the task force and bring that information to us as a committee so that we can vote on it. But I don't think that, we should just run around in general. I think those people, if they are interested, Patrick, and you know them, and send their name to Bob and let Bob talk to them,
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. I want to back up to some of the things that you mentioned. First of all, if the money stays in 155, as it is now, the bulk of that money is in salaries. So there is no money in the other line items to do an RFP. That's first. Number 2, the Board of Selectmen aren't doing an RFP. They're going to hire a director of technology. And I totally agree that we have to, if we do an RFP, how are we going to write it? And I think we can just push that discussion down a little further for tonight, but not right now. But those are the first points that I definitely wanted to clear up. Whereas if the money is transferred, we can decide, do we do an RFP for more consulting work? Because right now, as we know from past discussions, world bands live limited to $34,999 for based on their quote, based on the procurement practices. So given that we all support it, I think maybe we have 2 discussions. What if it transfers? What if it doesn't? But if it does, then we need to get on to the discussion on the RFP. What are we looking to do with that? Are we looking to get through the whole school year? Are we looking to go on indefinitely? Are we looking to go on for 3 years? Are we looking to bring on a public school director of technology? Those are the things that we need to decide as a committee, but they'll also, to an extent, affect the RFP. If we're looking to put a director in place in January 1st, which I don't think we would do or could do, but that would change the scope of the RFP versus if we're going to wait till July 1st or beyond.
And I agree. I think that's part of what my question is for the committee is I think we need to in the very near future get to that decision of like, what is our chosen course of direction? So that way we can, to your point, Mike, give the direction to, if it's gonna be the superintendent of schools that's going to coordinate the community volunteers. I think we need to, as a committee, make that decision of what direction we're going to go, one way or the other, from a structural perspective. We've got to wait for the assessment. We've got to wait for that as far as the logistical perspectives, what's going to change, what's not, and everything else. But I think we need to start to make some decisions on what is our organizational structure going to look like. Whether it's going to be, to John's point, and you bring up all very good ones. Are we going to continue on for the year? Are we going to try and do that? But I think we're in the very near future. We need to start to make some of those decisions.
Can I suggest that we make those like sooner than later?
That's-
Because I'd
that
like
would be my
to,
ask.
if we had to do like another meeting besides our scheduled meeting. John and I have talked about this today. It's always, not that it always is, but it's always the next meeting.
Mhm.
I think we just need to get this done and over with. Either we're going to sub it out, we're going to get a director, we're going to do both. It needs to be done, in my eyes, now. I don't want to go back and forth with what we should do, when we're going to do it. I kind of want it done like now.
Agreed.
And I think everyone here at this table kind of knows what they want to do. I think we should just go do it.
Well, I guess this would be the official subcommittee update. Joe and I met today for probably 40 minutes and hashed over all of this stuff 20 times. What we left at agreeing on is that we would like to present to the committee that we vote to develop an RFP. We would propose that he and I as a subcommittee work with Bob and Kathy to develop it. I think I would certainly seek, assistance from professionals that have done that exact job. I don't know exactly who or to what level yet, but that's one proposal that we had as a subcommittee. We also believe, I'm in the position right now that I believe we should be looking for a director of technology for Milford Public Schools. I would vote to start the search sooner than later. I don't think we could effectively put one in place before July 1st of 16. And that's if we found a successful candidate. What we don't want to do is put a person in place for the sake of putting them in and not having it be the perfect candidate. And I think that's something that we can go, if we go forward with an RFP, we can go forward with subcontractors, and when the time's right, put in a director. But it's more difficult to put in a director and then abandon that model.
You asked me. Oh, wait.
So, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Bob, so if I speak out of turn, let me know. But so I was under the impression the whole reason why we were going to town meeting to request the funding be split was because we couldn't use the salary line item in 155 to pay the consultant, and that we had agreed, or Bob and Kathy and the administration decided that we're okay for this year outsourcing our IT needs, and then going through the process of interviewing and hiring a director for the 2016 year. So I was under the impression that the decision was already made that we're going to be outsourcing this for this year, but we needed the funding out of that line item 155, specifically out of the salaries, to be able to accomplish that, and then we would eventually hire a director for the 2016 year. So if I misunderstood that.
That's consistent with what our thinking was, because we already know we're already off the ground for this year and running. We know what we need to get in place for fiber to make sure it's running. We're in the process of identifying what we need over the next 2 years in terms of the material side. We know we need technology direction and vision, and that person, if it's a school person, difficult to find mid-year, but we begin that search process mid-year and line that up so you have.
I just want to jump in here. So, I was under the same impression as Joe. We're going to outsource for this year, and we're going to decide what the right move forward is for the public schools going into the next year. I think that, Mike, and I just want to, I do want to caution about putting the onus upon Bob to go out and find who those consultants should be. I mean, frankly, we've seen what happens when the town administrator and the superintendent work together to try. And I'm not insulting you, Bob. I don't think that it should be on your shoulders. Frankly, it should be on our shoulders. Okay. So if this fails or succeeds, I want it to fail or succeed because we did our leadership, we did our due diligence, and we made sure that we moved forward in the right way. And so I don't want to pass that responsibility off to Bob, quite frankly. I know that if we do it together collectively, there's enough leadership in this room that we can succeed and do it properly. I think that we need people who have experience in this field, okay, who do this for a living every single day, to tell us the right thing for our school district. So I don't think it's get some marginal input from those people. I think it's get people who are dedicated members of this community to come together, to work with us, to present to us, to educate us, to teach us what we need to do so we can make the right decision. And I absolutely agree with Joe and with Scott. We should put those people together as soon as possible. And they should be advising us as soon as possible. Because we've seen what a mess this has been for the past 4 years. Mm-hmm. And I will not, absolutely not, be responsible or be one of 7 people who are responsible for the failure of technology in the Milford Public Schools. So, and I apologize. No, I don't apologize for my passion. I'm very passionate about this. So we've been severed from the town because the town can't quite figure out the right way to move forward on a town-wide IT person. And so now it's our responsibility. And so we should put together the consultants that we need. We should get the inventories that we need so we can make a competent and intelligent decision.
But don't you think the right thing would be to allow the superintendent and the technology task force and anybody that he puts together, because he's the person that's running the district every single day, put together the plan, put together the people that he feels will do what needs to be done, and then bring that plan to us?
No, we've done that. We've already done that. The town has done that. The town has asked the town administrator.
We've never done that.
And
We've never done that.
I'm not going to make the same mistakes the town's already made. That mistake has been made. It's been made 4 times.
But the superintendent was told what to do.
But now, Patrick, we're talking about 2 different things, right?
I don't think we are, John.
No, I think we are. We're talking about putting together something for an RFP, and we're talking about putting something together for a director. Or am I mistaken?
Right.
I think that we need experts in the field to tell us what the RFP should say, and whether the RFP should contain outsourcing responsibilities, whether the RFP should contain a director. I think that we need.
Well, no, an RFP is for outsourcing.
Well,
I mean,
so an RFP is a request for proposal, right? So we want someone to come in and they're going to tell us what they're going to do with our technology, okay? And so what I want is I want an informed group of people putting together that RFP.
Okay.
And what I want is I don't want me to be as part of that group. I want someone who's an actual IT person to be part of that group. And what I don't want is Bob to be responsible for picking those people. I want us to be responsible for picking those people, because if this fails, I want it to be our fault. And if this succeeds, I want it to be our credit.
And I see where you're going. I think we're probably on the same page. The RFP I'm talking about is for the subcontractor to come in, because World Band's limited. That $35,000 or $34,999 split between town and school doesn't get us through the end of the year. To Joe's point about the salaries in 155 coming over to the school budget, that lets us do an RFP for subcontracting services to get us through the year, which is different. And I just realized it's near the end. You're talking about an RFP for a strategic plan, so to speak.
Right.
But so, I didn't realize it was.
I just think
we were referring to 2 different RFPs.
Yeah, I think that when you break it apart like that, yes, I think that we do have two separate mindsets now. But I guess my concern here is that I don't want to fall into this exercise wheel that the town's been in for the past 4 years, where we're bouncing around from one IT person to the next, one vision to the next, so we're not really getting to the people that we need. And I know what happens when people who aren't experts in IT make IT decisions. And what I want to see is I'd like to see that group of people, those committed people, some of whom reached out to me, I'd like to see them assembled as soon as possible. And so I guess I would say, just as a member, as a citizen of this town, not as a member of the school committee, I would like any person who and I already have 3 names, any person who wants to offer their time, who wants to offer their advice, to come forward, and to come forward to this committee and to identify themselves. And I'd like this committee to give this committee an opportunity to put together that group. And Bob can absolutely organize it, but I want us to be responsible for actually picking those people, because we can't allow this to fail. This just can't fail. And if we're directly responsible for it, I don't think it's going to fail. And I'm sorry, my ears are hot. And I'm a little...
Jen?
You're passionate, and I think we all are.
You're absolutely right, though.
A few weeks ago, we attended a meeting of the Finance Committee, and I think we were all very surprised by the outcome of that meeting, which was we were told at a meeting that there was X amount of dollars and basically what to do with those dollars. And that's not how the school committee should be planning for the future of our students, by being told to do something with an amount of money that the Finance Committee is kind of throwing out there. And I'm not saying they were throwing it out there randomly. Obviously, there's been a lot of thought and a lot of discussion about this around town, but For me, this break between the town and the schools is freeing. This is the first time that the Milford Public Schools in a very long time has been able to do what almost every other school district in this area is doing, which is run technology for our schools by the schools. And our job as a school committee, it's outlined very clearly. We, are responsible for hiring a superintendent, we're responsible for budget, and we're responsible for policy. And it's a very fine line, because technology is a huge part of budget, and I get that we're really responsible for that, and there have been multiple failures, but what we haven't had an opportunity to see yet is Bob come to us, and Kevin and Kathy, and say, this is our plan for the Milford Public Schools, this is what we want to see. I have ideas about the $250,000. I'm thinking I'd like to see some more tech people in there to relieve Dan Nelson and a couple of these other people temporarily, while maybe we have World Band doing some of the integral work with our systems that needs to be done. And I understand, to your point about bringing in people to a hiring committee that have tech expertise, but I don't think that they should be running the committee. I don't think they should have precedence over school department, because, and I know that someone said in that meeting we were at, an electron is an electron, talking about comparing town technology to school technology, but school technology and a tech director in a school is very different. It's a completely different animal. The skill set you need for a person to run a school district is very different from what you need to run the town systems. You need to have someone who understands curriculum, education, pedagogy, who can act as a leader, part of a leadership team. And those are very different skills than other positions in tech. And until we have our superintendent telling us, this is what I see, this is the vision, this is where we need to get from whatever, October 1st through June of 2016, I don't feel comfortable with much of anything else until I see, what do you think we need, how do you want to get us there, and what funding do we need to do this? I want to see people from the school department on that committee. I don't want to see it taken over by people. I agree, have community input, have that tech piece, because I agree, no one in this room has that specific tech expertise. I wouldn't know what they were talking about in terms of the tech piece, but in terms of what they can bring to a school system to move us forward, we've got to have Bob leading us in that.
I think you've identified two channels. The first channel is, what do we do with technology? What kind of technology do we have to deploy, right? And I think that the school can determine. The other part of it is, what do we need for infrastructure to make sure that all of this stuff works together? Okay, and so if we can find one person that's capable of doing both of those things, fantastic. Okay, I'm doubtful that we can. I think that we need to have someone who can put together, who can square away the technological infrastructure of the school building, which is what I think a committee could do if we get tech experts from outside of the school department, but are citizens in Milford, to tell us how to fix our infrastructure. And then once repaired, we decide that we want to have someone who can be an educational deployment person, someone who takes all of the materials that Bob and Kevin identified that they need to have in the school department, in the classrooms every single day, and deploying those properly with the right assets to make sure that children are learning from them. That's great. If that's our decision, I'm all for that, okay? But without the infrastructure, none of that works. It's all pie in the sky. And so if we don't square away this infrastructure, and if we don't square it away immediately, then we are going to be in the exact same position next year at this time as we are right now.
Okay.
And so I'm not disagreeing with, honestly, anything anybody's saying. I'm really not. I'm just saying that we've been struggling mightily just to get basic things like infrastructure squared away, and we haven't. And if you don't have a foundation, it's like, it's my opposition to everyday math, right? You start spiraling a curriculum before you teach the children how to multiply. And so we're doing the same thing here. We're starting to spiral all of the wonderful things we can do with technology before we know that we're actually set on bedrock, and we are not on bedrock.
Okay, but let me just back you up a second to Jen's point, which I agree with 100%, and I felt this way since the day I got elected. We have 3 areas of responsibility: budget, policy, and hiring and firing the superintendent. Okay? Never has the superintendent of Milford Public Schools been solely responsible or been able to handle technology. Technology is part of the school department. He runs the district. So my thought is, and I'm with you a little bit, but if we get involved in putting together these people, hiring these people, we've overstepped our bounds. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to allow the superintendent of schools to put together a program however he wants to do it. He's in charge. And then bring it to us, and then we decide with a vote whether we agree or disagree with his plan. But he's never been allowed to do that because the town has always been involved in it. So I think we need to stay within our area of responsibility, budget policy and the superintendent hiring and firing, and let the superintendent go to work and bring us back the plan that he thinks is gonna work in our district. I think that's what we have to do.
I don't
know.
abdicate any authority for anything that happens in this school building. I consider myself to be one of 7 people who are personally responsible for everything that happens under all of our school roofs. Okay? And so our job is to supervise Bob and to oversee the school district. I've watched the town fail 4 times to get someone into the school department who can adequately address our infrastructure
So
issues.
now give him the
Bob has been on
opportunity.
that committee 4 times. And so what I'm saying is, we need to change our methodology or else we're setting ourselves up to fail.
Right, but now he's on his own. So now we give him the opportunity. He's the superintendent of schools, he's running the district. It's up to him.
If I was him, I wouldn't want the responsibility, frankly. After all of the magnifying glass this has been under the entire committee. Quite frankly, I think that he would want people who are elected officials to make sure this happens properly, to show some leadership and to show some guidance and to make sure this happens in the way that it needs to happen for the success of our students and for the town. And we cannot step away from this. This is not something, it's been too much. We
We're
cannot
not
step
stepping
this.
away from him, we're allowing him to do his job.
But Mike, and to Patrick's point, and with all due respect to Bob, it's not that we have not been part of this process. And if it was, hey, listen, there's 5 votes that are going for the last 4 IT directors, and there was 4 to 1 every single time, and we were saying, hey, this isn't the guy we want, that's not been the case. We've been along for this ride. So we need to try and change things up a little bit, and we've talked about this right since the beginning, Bob, which is, listen, to Jen's point, from an educational perspective, that's Bob's area of expertise. That's his background, that's his education, that's his training, that's what he's dedicated his life to being able to do. Kevin on the curriculum component, that's what he's trained for, that's what he's educated for. What they are not trained, nor are they educated, nor are, quite frankly, they equipped to be able to do, is the technology component.
So let them go put that team together.
Okay.
Give them the opportunity. They've never had that opportunity solely alone. And to tie his hands behind him, okay,
It's not
is
about
the
tying
right-
his hand, Mike,
It
but it's
most
not.
certainly is.
It's about empowering him.
It's not about that at all.
Allow him the
It-
opportunity. If you were empowering him, Patrick, you'd be saying, Bob, this is what I want you to, this is what I'd like to see.
I'm empowering by saying, we're gonna make sure the infrastructure gets fixed so you can worry about the educational deployment of technology. That's empowering him. That's what he's trained to do. That's what he should be doing. That's what I trust him to do. I mean, I trust him unfailingly to do that. The infrastructure stuff, we should make sure that the right pieces are in place so that's not gonna fail again. We should take that responsibility. And I think we're making a big mistake if we don't. And if it's whatever the pleasure of the committee is the pleasure of the committee. And I've said my piece, and I don't mean to insult or fight with anybody. I respect everybody sitting in this room. But I'm very passionate about this. And when I do things, they don't fail. And I would like to be responsible for this, not I, the royal I, all of us. I would like us to be responsible for this so it doesn't fail.
Well, I think we're still talking about 2 slightly different areas. You know, the topic of getting everything in place, getting the network straightened out, getting all the proper architecture, the cabling in place. That's something I'd agree, you know, Bob shouldn't be saddled with. How are we gonna get that solved? How are we gonna get that strategic plan, if you will? I think that's one question. And then I think we're mixing, what are we doing long term? Are we gonna put a director in place? Does Bob get involved with that? I mean, Bob should be involved with everything, but I think we have like 3 distinct pieces. What are we doing going forward with our vendor? Because I don't think we have a procurement issue as a town with World Band. We're limited. You know, I keep beating that to death, but again, I think that's one RFP that needs to, you know, we can't put it forward until the money gets transferred at town meeting, but I think we should, you know, decide whether or not we're gonna go forward with an RFP for subcontractor vendor services for this fiscal year to get us through. Then let's talk about, are we doing an RFP for strategic plan or whatever, not network assessment, that's not the right phrase, but.
Yeah, exactly.
And then.
What our design is, for that department
We have like 5
moving
different
forward.
topics that do all intermix, so.
I think you and Joe, frankly, with 3 or 4 IT professionals from the community can decide what our RFP should be for infrastructure issues for this year. Quite frankly, I have total faith. And, you know, if we could get 3 or 4 IT professionals to work with you 2 guys to put together a plan that we vote on, I'm comfortable in doing that. You know, and once we get that fixed, so we get through this year, and actually, Bob's plan for this year is fine. We've all reviewed it. You know, we have a school year plan that's perfectly competent, that we're not worried about, that we know World Bank can execute. you know? And so if we can just get some IT professionals together who can advise us properly, who can tell us what we can be doing, then we can actually make intelligent decisions. I feel like I'm flying blind. I'm the type of person who digs into every book and does research before I make decisions. And I don't even know what's going on. I'm like in a room with the lights out. And I don't even, for me, it starts with an Excel spreadsheet of all of the stuff that we have, okay? And then once I understand all the stuff that we have, I need someone to come in and tell me what all this stuff means. Okay, now that I know what all this stuff means, how does it work together? And if we can put these building blocks together with people who actually understand it, we can make intelligent decisions, you know? And so, again, I think that if we don't have some sort of advisory committee together here, or at least on the way to being here by our next meeting, I think that we're wasting time.
Well, with that said, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with beginning to develop an RFP, myself and Joe as a subcommittee with Bob, Kathy, the administration, and whatever we can put together for professionals in the community to get an RFP put together in case the 155 transfer happens, that we can get through the school year.
I think that's just that bad, frankly. I think we should put together a motion to reach out to the community to find people who can come in and actually advise us. That's what I think. And then I think once we have that group of people, then I think that you guys are more than capable of working together with them to make sure that our technology is together in the way that we need it to be.
Why don't we wait for the assessment?
I would love to see the assessment. But we need to, we're still gonna need those professionals. We're gonna need those people that can actually advise us.
And we need somebody that's gonna.
We wait for the assessment, and then we can decide what direction we need to go in.
But we also need somebody that's going to come in. Nobody around this table can sit there and this is what we ran into with Wallet, which is we don't have a disinterested third party that's only interested in our best interest, that can actually sit there and translate it to Patrick's point and actually look at the report and say, tell me what this means. With all due respect, and we all love them because they're doing a phenomenal job and they've worked with us for a long time. Who are we going to consult with to be able to give us this information and tell us what it all means and what we really all need? The company that's then going to turn around and bid on the project? I don't think that's in the best interest of anybody. As much as we have a lot of faith in them, I think that's where the RFP comes down on.
But I think
we've got to get somebody that's going to translate that.
That's the next step. What happens when we get to 35 and World Bank can't work
I agree.
anymore?
Right. I agree
That's all
with
I'm
you,
trying to
John.
do is cover that, so we have the ability to have a vendor in here to continue working. And I'm not disagreeing with much or anything that everybody else is saying, but I'm just trying to compartmentalize it down into steps. And I think that's the first step. And if not, we'll just keep going until,
No,
until we hit critical mass with the numbers.
No, and I certainly understand that. I do think that the next step though is getting the group of the, whether it's the folks that have the expertise that have already reached out and volunteered their services to help us with that, with constructing what that RFP would look like and being able to advise on that component. And again, it's on the technical component, not on the educational component. I want to make sure I draw that line very, very clearly. Bob and Kevin are going to be able to come in and say, hey, this is what I'd like to do. We'd like to do blended learning. We'd like to do this. This is what we'd like to do this. And then we have a technology person we have a technology component, whether it's an IT director or an outsource that's going to be able to come in and say, great, I don't know what any of that means from an educational component. Here's what the technology needs are that it goes along with it. You need XYZ bandwidth for Wi-Fi. You need XYZ. You need this plug there. You need this switch there. And here I'm going to go do it. And this is what it's going to cost. Let's go do it. There's two components, Jen, and to Jen's point of, yeah, we need somebody that understands the educational piece. And to Mike's point, yeah, I want to empower Bob to use his education background and expertise, not by putting additional burden on him by saying, hey, by the way, and now we need you to be a technology
Pave the road first, and then drive on it.
We got to go, right, we got to go find that person. So I think that next step, in my personal opinion, and again, ultimately it's the pleasure of the committee, is we've got to start that next step in the process, which is we've got to get folks that have that technical background to help us with constructing that RFP, because we don't have that right now.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we, Patrick, I go back to you. If you know 3 people, you have names or whatever, have them reach out to Bob.
I will. I'll
have them
them
reach
tomorrow.
out to Bob and have a discussion.
And John, your idea is to essentially put together an RFP to get us to the end of the school year, right? I mean, is that what you're thinking right now?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not it, but that's...
No,
that's my first point.
And that's an important point, because I feel like we keep getting ahead to the next step, right? Because we're all focused on hiring the IT director or outsourcing it in the end state. But right now, the only thing John's talking about is the RFP to ensure that we can continue to leverage World Band so that we don't run into those break any procurement laws.
I'm focused
So-
on getting 4 IT people in the room that can advise us. That's what I'm focused on. I think that's our absolute first step. I think we can't go
Right.
anywhere until we get that.
Right.
I honestly do. I think that, again, we're just gonna stumble and we're gonna trip and we're gonna look foolish. And quite frankly, after the whole hullabaloo that happened over the summer about, you know, the IT director and splitting it up and pointing fingers and all that nonsense, I don't want to trip over this. Okay? I mean, we're all intelligent people here. We can find a way to not trip over it. And I think when you need an expert, you go hire an expert to do what the expert needs. And we're very lucky, right? We're a school department. We have volunteers. We have experts who volunteer their time. Let's get out there. Let's reach out to them. Let's get them in. I got 3 names, Bob. I will contact them tomorrow so they can reach out to you. John, do you want them to reach out to you instead, or how would you like to handle it?
No, definitely reach out to superintendent.
Yeah.
I'd just like to be in the loop on.
I feel comfortable working with John and with Joe. You know, I think that gives me some support. We have a lot going on this year. Particularly, you know, with running Middle School East, running the school district. There's a lot of moving parts. So this is something that we'd appreciate the help. Kevin and I and Kathy, certainly we have a vision for technology. We know what we need to do in the short and the long term. Having that support of the committee is appreciated. The only thing I wonder is if by putting this out there publicly, you'll see there's a lot of people who work in the IT field, and you could probably have 50 people who might now express an interest. Is how do you then narrow that, and what do you look for in terms of qualifications of volunteers? Not to say the goodwill of the community is not appreciated, but you have to have a workable group also.
Well,
so
let's hope we get 50 and then see if it's a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think, you know, to John's point, I agree. It's we got to get through the rest of this year, and that's what that RFP is. And it may not be World Band, because as our last discussion, it might very well be, and they'll certainly bid on it. But that part of that RFP is it has to go out to bid.
Correct.
Because we can't just use them. And to John's point, yeah, we won't make it through the end of the year. And John flat out said, yeah, we're not making it.
I think we should appoint those people to John and Joe's subcommittee, quite frankly.
I would agree.
That's what I think we should do.
That would be my favor as well.
And then we have then we're all invested. And we're all in.
So
John and
send
Joe are
names
by
to me
themselves on
and
an
I'll
island, and
give them
Bob's on an island.
Yeah.
It's because we all decided to do it together.
Okay. So the names come to me, and then I'll forward that out to the subcommittee.
Well, to Mike. I mean, you know, he's the person who would have to see it first. But yeah.
Okay, any other old business? We have no executive session, so a motion for adjournment. Motion from John, Joe, all in favor? Good night, thank you very much.
Right.